You're fired. The CEO who broke all her own rules. Vivian Cross built an empire on ice-cold perfection. No mercy. No exceptions. No feelings. But on a rainy Friday night, she stood outside a shabby apartment, mascara running, hands shaking, ready to destroy the one employee who made her feel human. Ryan Parker, perpetually late, perpetually exhausted single dad, opened the door expecting the end. What he got instead was the beginning of everything. Because sometimes the most powerful person in the room isn't the one giving orders, it's the one brave enough to break. Drop a comment with your city below. Let's see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. The rain hammered Seattle like it had a personal grudge. Vivian Cross stood in the downpour outside apartment 3B, her $1,000 heels sinking into a puddle she would have had someone fired for not draining. Her carefully constructed armor, the sharp suit, the perfectly styled hair, the expression that could freeze blood at 20 paces, was disintegrating. Mascara carved black rivers down her cheeks. Her hands trembled as she raised one fist to knock. She'd built Cross Innovations from nothing into a tech empire worth $3 billion. She'd stared down venture capitalists, hostile takeovers, and her own father's prediction that she'd fail within a year. She'd done it all without flinching, without crying, without ever letting anyone see her break. And now she was about to destroy it all for a man who couldn't even show up to work on time. The door opened before she could knock. Ryan Parker stood in the doorway, barefoot, wearing a faded Seahawks t-shirt with a suspicious stain near the collar that was probably ketchup. His dark hair stuck up in 17 different directions. Exhaustion carved shadows under his brown eyes, the kind of bone-deep tired that came from doing everything alone. He was holding a dish towel in one hand and looked like he'd been in the middle of something domestic and utterly ordinary. For 3 seconds, they just stared at each other. Then Vivian's mouth opened and the words came out like broken glass. "You're fired." A small face appeared beside Ryan's hip. Lily Parker, 7 years old, clutching a stuffed brontosaurus that had seen better days. Her dark curls were escaping from lopsided pigtails. She wore dinosaur pajamas and regarded Vivian with the kind of solemn curiosity that made Vivian's chest hurt. "Lily, go back inside," Ryan said quietly. His voice was steady, but Vivian saw his hand tighten on the doorframe. "Is that the mean lady from your work?" Lily asked, not moving an inch. "She's not," Ryan started, then seemed to realize he didn't know how to finish that sentence. "Just give me a minute, sweetheart. Please." Lily looked between them, then retreated slowly, like she was willing to obey but absolutely not willing to miss anything interesting. The brontosaurus dragged across the worn carpet. Ryan stepped into the hallway and pulled the door mostly closed behind him. The sounds of a TV playing something animated filtered through, someone singing about friendship and magic. The whole building smelled like other people's dinners and old carpet, and lives lived in small spaces where every dollar mattered. Vivian had forgotten places like this existed. "Miss Cross," Ryan said carefully. He was using his work voice, the one that said he knew exactly how precarious his position was. "If this is about being late this morning, this isn't about this morning." The words came out sharp enough to cut. "This is about every morning. This is about the fact that you've been late 63 times in 8 months. This is about leaving early for appointments and taking calls in the stairwell and asking to work from home twice a week like you're entitled to special treatment." Ryan's jaw tightened. "I have a daughter." "Everyone has responsibilities, Mr. Parker. Not everyone expects the company to accommodate them." "I never asked for special treatment. I do my work. I've hit every deadline, delivered on every project." "When you're actually there to deliver them." Vivian took a step closer. She was tall anyway, and the heels added 3 inches she didn't need. Ryan didn't back down, but she saw something flicker in his eyes. "Do you have any idea what it does to team morale when the CEO's pet project lead waltzes in whenever he feels like it?" "Pet project?" Now anger crept into Ryan's voice. Real anger, not the careful professional kind. "I earned that position. The interface redesign increased user engagement by 47%. The accessibility features we implemented are meaningless if no one can rely on you to show up." "I show up every single day." Ryan's voice dropped, but it didn't get quieter, it got harder. I show up at 5 a.m. to get 3 hours of work done before my daughter wakes up. I show up on conference calls at midnight after she's asleep because that's the only time the Tokyo office is available. I show up even when her school calls and says she's having an asthma attack, and every instinct I have is screaming at me to run out the door. I show up, Ms. Cross. I just don't show up on your perfect schedule. The rain kept falling. Somewhere down the hall, someone's TV was playing the news too loud. A door slammed on another floor. Vivian felt something crack inside her chest. She'd come here to fire him. She'd spent the entire drive from her downtown penthouse rehearsing exactly what she'd say, how she'd maintain professional distance, why it was necessary to make an example before the whole company thought they could treat punctuality like a suggestion. She'd come here to end this before it could begin, but Ryan was looking at her like she was the enemy, and Lily was probably pressed against the door listening, and Vivian was standing in a hallway that smelled like microwave dinners and broken dreams, and she couldn't remember anymore why she'd thought this was the right thing to do. How old is she? The question surprised them both. Ryan blinked. What? Your daughter, Lily. How old is she? 7. Suspicion crept into Ryan's expression. Why? Vivian didn't answer. She was thinking about a little girl in dinosaur pajamas, about the way Ryan's entire body had angled protectively toward that door, about 63 mornings of being late, and how every single one probably had a story behind it. She was thinking about the fact that Ryan Parker was the best interface designer she'd ever worked with, that his code was clean and elegant, and somehow managed to be both technically brilliant and genuinely user-friendly, which was rarer than unicorns in this industry. She was thinking about the way he'd looked 3 weeks ago during the product demo, explaining features to a room full of investors with such genuine enthusiasm that even the most jaded venture capitalists had leaned forward in their chairs. The way he'd stayed late that night, the one night his ex-wife had taken Lily for the weekend, to help the junior developers debug their code, patient and encouraging, and exactly the kind of mentor Vivian had never had. She was thinking about things she had no business thinking about. You can't fire me, Ryan said quietly. He wasn't pleading. He was stating a fact, looking her dead in the eyes. Not for being late. You'd have to document a pattern of genuine performance issues, and we both know my performance has been exceptional. You'd have to give warnings, follow HR protocols, and even then, I'd have a case for discrimination, single parent, unequal application of attendance policies. I'm aware of employment law, Mr. Parker. Then you know this is personal. Ryan crossed his arms. So what's this really about? The question hung in the wet air between them. What was this really about? Was it about the way her heart rate had picked up last Tuesday when he'd brought her coffee without being asked, somehow remembering that she took it black with 1 sugar? Was it about the fact that she'd rearranged this afternoon's executive meeting specifically so it wouldn't conflict with his daughter's doctor's appointment, and then spent 20 minutes staring at her calendar, wondering when she'd become the kind of person who did things like that? Was it about the terror that came with realizing she'd started looking forward to his morning arrivals, even the late ones, just to see him rush through the door with apologies and coffee stains, and that slightly chaotic energy that made her sterile, perfect office feel almost alive? Go inside, Vivian heard herself say. You're getting wet. You're the one standing in the rain. I'm also your boss. My boss who just showed up at my apartment at 8 p.m. on a Friday to fire me in person. Ryan's expression shifted slightly. That's not normal, Ms. Cross. Nothing about this is normal, Vivian shot back, and immediately regretted it. Ryan studied her face. She watched him notice the mascara, the trembling hands she couldn't quite control, the way she was standing in a puddle in shoes that cost more than his monthly rent and didn't seem to care. Are you okay? He asked. The gentleness in his voice nearly destroyed her. I'm fine. She straightened her spine, reaching for the ice that usually came so easily. This was a mistake. Go back to your daughter. She turned to leave. Miss Cross, you're not fired, Mr. Parker. The words came out flat, professional. But we will be having a conversation about punctuality on Monday morning. 8 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. She made it 3 steps before Ryan spoke again. Thank you. Vivian didn't turn around. For what? For whatever you came here to do instead. She kept walking. Down the hallway with its flickering fluorescent lights, Down the stairs with their industrial carpet worn thin in the middle, out into the rain that had somehow gotten worse. Her car was parked at the curb, a sleek black Mercedes that looked obscene on this street, lined with 15-year-old Hondas and rusting pickup trucks. Her driver started to get out. She waved him off, sliding into the back seat and pulling the door shut on the world outside. "Where to, Ms. Cross?" She should say home. She should go back to her penthouse with its perfect view and its perfect silence, and pour herself a perfect glass of wine and forget this entire evening ever happened. "Just drive," she said instead. The car pulled away from the curb. Vivian watched Ryan's building disappear in the side mirror. Somewhere up there behind one of those glowing windows, a 7-year-old girl was probably asking her father about the mean lady from work, and Ryan was probably trying to explain something he didn't understand himself. Vivian's phone buzzed. Elena Vasquez, her CFO and closest thing to a friend. Board dinner ran late. Drinks at Ascend? She should go. Network, strategize, maintain the relationships that kept Cross Innovations on top. That's what she'd spent 15 years doing, building alliances, cultivating influence, making sure no one could ever take from her what she'd built. "Not tonight," she typed back. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Elena knew better than to push. The car glided through downtown Seattle, past restaurants full of people having normal Friday nights, past bars where groups of friends laughed too loud, past the Cross Innovations building where lights still burned on half the floors because startup culture meant no one ever really went home. Vivian had personally created that culture. She'd built a company where dedication meant sacrifice, where excellence meant availability, where work-life balance was code for not committed enough. And then she'd fallen for someone who'd looked at that entire philosophy and quietly, consistently chosen his daughter instead. "Ms. Cross?" Her driver's voice was carefully neutral. "We've been circling for 20 minutes. She looked up, realized they were back in Ryan's neighborhood. Not on his street, but close enough. "Take me home, Marcus." "Of course." The penthouse was exactly as she'd left it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay, furniture that looked like it belonged in a design magazine, kitchen that had never seen anything more complicated than reheating takeout. Everything in its place. Everything perfect. Everything empty. Vivian poured that glass of wine, stood at the window, and watched the city lights blur in the rain. Somewhere out there, Ryan Parker was probably reading his daughter a bedtime story. Probably doing the voices, making her giggle, being utterly present in a way Vivian had never learned. Tomorrow he'd wake up early, make breakfast, pack a lunch, check that Lily had her inhaler, drop her at school, and show up to work late with another apologetic smile. And on Monday, Vivian was going to have to sit across from him and have a conversation about punctuality that they both knew was about something else entirely. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a calendar reminder. Board meeting, Q3 projections, 8 a.m. Monday. Right. Because she'd scheduled the Ryan conversation for 8 and the board meeting for 8, and apparently her subconscious was trying to create some kind of perfect storm of terrible decisions. Vivian pulled up her calendar, stared at it for a long moment, then moved the board meeting to 9. It was a small thing, insignificant, really. The board would barely notice. But Vivian noticed, because in 15 years of running Cross Innovations, she had never, not once, moved a board meeting for anyone. Until tonight. Until a man who couldn't show up on time had somehow become more important than the people who controlled her company's future. She drained her wine glass and poured another. This was going to be a disaster. Monday morning. Ryan arrived at 7:45. Vivian knew because she'd been watching the elevator bay from her office, which was pathetic, and she was fully aware of it. She'd gotten to the office at 6, redone her makeup twice, changed her earrings 3 times, and basically turned into a nervous teenager before a first date. Except this wasn't a date. This was a disciplinary meeting with an employee who'd somehow wormed his way past every defense she'd spent a lifetime building. Ryan stepped off the elevator looking like he'd already lived a full day. His tie was slightly crooked, his hair was still damp from a shower he'd clearly rushed through. But he was early, and there was something almost defiant in the way he headed straight for her office. Vivian's assistant, Priya, intercepted him at the door. "Mr. Parker, she's ready for you." "Great," Ryan muttered. Love a good execution before breakfast. Priya smiled despite herself. She's in a mood. Fair warning. When isn't she? I heard that, Vivian called from inside. Ryan walked in, and Priya pulled the door shut behind him with a soft click that somehow sounded final. The office was exactly what people expected from Vivian Cross. Massive windows, minimalist furniture, awards and patents displayed with calculated precision. Everything designed to intimidate, to remind visitors that they were in the presence of someone who'd conquered an industry before 40. Ryan stood in front of her desk and waited. Vivian let the silence stretch. She was good at this, using quiet as a weapon, making people squirm until they filled the void with confessions or apologies or whatever she needed to hear. But Ryan just stood there, meeting her eyes, not fidgeting, tired but steady. Finally, Vivian spoke. Sit down, Mr. Parker. I'd rather stand. That wasn't a request. Ryan sat, but something in his posture said he was doing it as a courtesy, not obedience. Let's get this over with. What do you want? Vivian opened the folder on her desk. Inside was a printed spreadsheet tracking every time Ryan had been late, left early, or requested schedule accommodations over the past 8 months. She'd compiled it herself over the weekend, which definitely wasn't the action of someone who had everything under control. I want to understand, she said carefully, what you think gives you the right to treat company policy as optional. I don't. Your attendance record suggests otherwise. My attendance record reflects reality. Ryan leaned forward slightly. I have a 7-year-old daughter with asthma. I have full custody because her mother decided being a parent was too hard and moved to San Francisco with her new boyfriend. I have exactly 0 family support, no backup childcare, and a school that starts at 8:30. So yes, I'm late sometimes. I'm also here until midnight when you need me. I'm available on weekends. I've never missed a deadline or delivered substandard work. So if you want to fire me for not fitting into your perfect 9-to-5 fantasy, go ahead, but we both know this isn't about attendance. The folder seemed to mock her from the desk. All those carefully compiled numbers, and Ryan had just dismissed them in 30 seconds. What do you think this is about? Vivian asked quietly. I think you showed up at my apartment Friday night ready to fire me, and then you didn't. I think something changed your mind, and it wasn't my sparkling personality or my attendance record. So either tell me what's really going on, or let me get back to work. Vivian closed the folder. You're getting a raise. Ryan froze. What? 40,000, plus a flexible schedule policy that allows you to work remote 2 days a week, provided you maintain availability for critical meetings, plus reimbursement for dependent care expenses up to 5,000 annually. I don't... Ryan shook his head like he was trying to clear it. I don't understand. You're one of the best designers I've ever worked with. Your interface work increased user engagement by 47%, which translates to roughly 18 million in new revenue. You mentor junior developers, you solve problems before they become crises, and apparently you do all of it while raising a child alone. Vivian kept her voice level, professional. So I'm giving you the resources to do both jobs well. The raise and benefits package is effective immediately. HR will send the updated contract this afternoon. Ryan stared at her. This is insane. This is business. Good talent should be compensated appropriately. Good talent that you tried to fire 3 days ago. I didn't try. If I'd wanted you fired, you'd be gone. Vivian stood, moving to the window because sitting still was becoming impossible. Consider this an investment in retaining critical assets. I'm not an asset, Miss Cross. I'm a person. She turned back to face him. I'm aware. Are you? Ryan stood as well, and suddenly the space between them felt both too large and not nearly large enough. Because I've worked here 8 months, and until Friday night, I don't think you saw me as anything except a productivity metric. And now you're throwing money at me like that changes something. It changes your ability to care for your daughter while maintaining your career, Vivian shot back, unless you're too proud to accept help. Help would have been moving my meetings when I had to take Lily to the emergency room at 2 a.m. because she couldn't breathe. Help would have been understanding when I said I needed to leave early for parent-teacher conferences. This isn't help, Ms. Cross. This is guilt. The accusation hung in the air between them. You're right, Vivian said softly. Ryan blinked. What? You're right. I should have accommodated your situation months ago. I should have recognized that someone doing excellent work while managing extraordinary circumstances deserves support, not criticism. She moved back to her desk, pulled out a second folder. So in addition to the raise and benefits, I'm implementing company-wide policy changes. Flexible scheduling for parents, protected time for family emergencies, remote work options for positions that allow it. The board is reviewing the proposal this morning. Ryan sat down slowly. You can't rebuild company policy because you feel bad about one conversation. I'm not rebuilding policy because I feel bad. I'm rebuilding it because it's better business. Talented people have lives outside work. Pretending they don't just means we lose them to companies that figured that out first. So this has nothing to do with Friday night. Friday night was a wake-up call, Vivian admitted, about a lot of things. Ryan studied her face. She forced herself not to look away, even though everything in her was screaming to retreat behind professional distance. What happened to you? Ryan asked finally. To make you think caring about people is a weakness? The question hit like a physical blow. Vivian could have deflected, should have reminded Ryan that her personal history was none of his business, and this meeting was over. Instead, she heard herself say, "My father told me I'd never succeed because I was too soft, too emotional, too concerned with being liked instead of being respected." The words came out flat, recited. So I fixed it. I became exactly what the business world wanted. Hard, focused, uncompromising. And it worked. I built something extraordinary. At what cost? That's not your concern, Mr. Parker. It became my concern when you showed up at my door crying. Ryan's voice gentled. You can pretend Friday night didn't happen, but we both know it did. And I don't think you came there to fire me. I think you came there because you were drowning and needed someone to see it. Vivian's hands clenched. You're out of line. Probably. Ryan stood, moved toward the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, Miss Cross, I think the person you used to be, the one your father said was too soft, she's still in there. And she's not weakness. She's the only part of you that's real. He left before she could respond. Vivian stood alone in her office, surrounded by awards and patents and evidence of success, and felt more hollow than she'd felt in 15 years. Her phone buzzed. Priya. Board meeting in 15. They're in the conference room. Right. Time to convince 8 powerful people that completely restructuring company policy wasn't a sign that their CEO was losing her edge. Vivian gathered her materials, checked her reflection in the window, and became the person the board expected to see. Confident, controlled, completely certain. She almost believed it herself. 3 weeks later. The coffee cart outside Cross Innovations had become Ryan's morning ritual, partly because their coffee was better than the office sludge, partly because it gave him 5 minutes to decompress between dropping Lily off and facing whatever corporate drama awaited upstairs. Usual? The barista already had his cup ready. Please. And one of those blueberry muffins. Rough morning? Is there any other kind? Ryan paid, grabbed his order, and turned to find Vivian Cross standing 3 feet away, clearly waiting her turn in line. He nearly dropped the coffee. She was dressed in her standard CEO armor, tailored suit, heels that added unnecessary height, expression that could freeze helium. But there was something different about the way she stood there, like she was trying very hard to look casual and not quite pulling it off. Mr. Parker, she said formally. Ms. Cross. Ryan stepped aside. Didn't realize you knew this place existed. I'm expanding my horizons. She ordered something complicated involving oat milk and extra shots, then waited beside him while the barista worked. How's Lily? The question surprised him. She's good. Finally sleeping through the night without the nebulizer, which is huge. That's excellent. Vivian accepted her coffee, and for a moment they just stood there in awkward proximity. The flexible schedule is helping? It's been a game changer, Ryan admitted. Working from home Tuesdays and Thursdays means I can take her to her pulmonologist appointments without the whole production of calling in favors. So thank you, genuinely. Something shifted in Vivian's expression. You're welcome. They started walking toward the building together, which felt both natural and completely bizarre. 3 weeks ago, Ryan would have rather walked through traffic than spend voluntary time near his terrifying CEO. Now she was asking about his daughter and buying overpriced coffee like a normal human. The new policy rollout is going well, Vivian said as they crossed the lobby. Adoption rate is at 63% across departments. Employee satisfaction scores are up 18 points. That's great. Ryan pushed the elevator button. Told you it was good business. You were right about a lot of things. The elevator arrived. They stepped in, and Ryan watched the numbers climb while trying not to think about the fact that they were alone in an enclosed space, and Vivian smelled like something expensive and subtle. I'm sorry, Vivian said suddenly. Ryan looked at her. For what? For taking 8 months to see you as a person instead of a problem. For every time I made you feel like your daughter was an inconvenience instead of your priority. For... She stopped, seemed to be choosing words carefully. For being the kind of leader who mistakes fear for respect. The elevator climbed past the 5th floor, 6th, 7th. You're not that person anymore, Ryan said quietly. Or you're trying not to be. That counts for something. Does it? Lily asked about you yesterday. Vivian's head turned sharply. What? She wanted to know if the mean lady from work was still mad at me. Ryan smiled slightly. I told her you were never really mad, just scared. You told your 7-year-old daughter that I was scared? She's 7, not stupid. Kids are better at reading people than adults give them credit for. The elevator reached their floor. Doors opened. Neither of them moved. She also said you had pretty earrings. Vivian touched one ear automatically. When did she see my earrings? Friday night. She was absolutely glued to the door listening to everything. I got a full debrief afterward. Ryan stepped out into the hallway. Fair warning, if you ever talk to her, she'll probably ask approximately 8,000 questions about your job and whether you have any dinosaurs. Dinosaurs? It's her current obsession. Last month was space. Before that, ancient Egypt. Ryan paused outside his office. She's convinced there are undiscovered species in your building's basement. I haven't had the heart to tell her it's just storage and server rooms. Vivian was looking at him with an expression Ryan couldn't quite read. You're a good father. I'm a tired father who's mostly improvising. That's what good parenting is, from what I understand. She shifted her coffee to her other hand. I have a meeting. Right. Yeah, me too. Ryan opened his office door, then turned back. Miss Cross? She stopped. Yes? Thank you. Not just for the raise and the policy, for caring enough to try. Vivian's carefully controlled expression cracked, just for a second. Just enough for Ryan to see something raw and uncertain underneath. You're welcome, Mr. Parker. She walked away before he could say anything else. Ryan closed his office door, set down his coffee and muffin, and tried to focus on the day ahead. Code to write, meetings to attend, designs to refine. Normal work stuff. Except nothing felt normal anymore, because his terrifying CEO had just asked about his daughter's health, admitted to being wrong, and looked at him like maybe, just maybe, he was more than an employee to her, and Ryan had absolutely no idea what to do with that information. His phone buzzed. Text from Priya. Boss lady is smiling. Smiling. What did you do? Ryan. Talked about dinosaurs? Priya. This is the weirdest workplace ever. Ryan couldn't argue with that. He pulled up his current project, a redesign of the mobile interface that was due for review next week, and tried to lose himself in the work. Code was clean, logical. It did exactly what you told it to do, nothing more, nothing less. Unlike human beings, who were messy and complicated and sometimes showed up at your door crying in the rain and then pretended it never happened while simultaneously restructuring their entire company. Ryan's cursor blinked at him from the screen. He thought about Vivian standing in that coffee line, trying so hard to seem casual, about the way she'd touched her earrings when he mentioned Lily noticing them, about the crack in her voice when she'd apologized in the elevator. This was dangerous territory. She was his boss. She held his career in her hands. She could destroy everything he'd built with one conversation with HR. But she'd also seen him at his messiest, exhausted and ketchup-stained and drowning in single-dad chaos. And instead of crushing him, she'd tried to help. Ryan's phone buzzed again. This time it was Lily's school. Reminder: parent-teacher conference Thursday 3 p.m. Right. Another thing to juggle. Another afternoon of leaving work early and hoping nobody noticed or cared, except now they had a policy for that. Now Ryan could actually block off his calendar and mark it as protected family time, and nobody could say a word, because Vivian had changed the rules, for him, because of him. Maybe. Ryan saved his work, grabbed his coffee, and headed to the morning team meeting where he absolutely would not spend the entire time thinking about his CEO's smile when she'd asked about Lily. He failed spectacularly. Thursday afternoon, Lily's school. The elementary school conference room was designed to make adults feel like giants visiting a miniature world. Tiny chairs, tiny desks, walls covered in finger paintings, and construction paper projects that represented someone's very best effort. Ryan folded himself into a chair clearly made for someone Lily's size and waited for Mrs. Patterson to finish with the previous parent. His phone buzzed. Work email. He ignored it. The policy was clear. Protected family time meant work didn't exist. Vivian had put it in writing, sent it to every department head, made it non-negotiable. Ryan was still getting used to the idea that his daughter's doctor appointments and school conferences weren't things he had to hide or apologize for. Mr. Parker? Mrs. Patterson emerged from the classroom, smiling. She was in her 50s, the kind of teacher who'd seen everything and still somehow maintained genuine affection for children. Come on in. Ryan followed her into the classroom, where Lily's desk was covered in drawings of what appeared to be dinosaurs wearing spacesuits. So, Mrs. Patterson settled into her adult-sized chair with visible relief. Let's talk about Lily. Is everything okay? Ryan's default setting was worry, came with the single-parent territory. Everything is wonderful. Lily's reading above grade level, her math skills are strong, and she's incredibly creative. Mrs. Patterson pulled out a folder of Lily's work. But I wanted to talk to you about her social development. Ryan's stomach dropped. Is she having trouble making friends? Not at all. Actually, the opposite. Lily's become the unofficial problem solver for her peer group. When there's a dispute at recess, other kids come to her for mediation. When someone's upset, she's the first one to notice and offer help. That's good, right? It's excellent. It also means Lily's taking on a lot of emotional labor for a 7-year-old. Mrs. Patterson leaned forward. She mentioned that her mom doesn't visit much, and that you work really hard, and sometimes you're tired. Ryan felt the familiar guilt spike. I try not to let her see. Mr. Parker, you're doing an amazing job. That's not what I'm saying. Mrs. Patterson's voice was gentle. I'm saying that Lily's learned to be very aware of other people's emotions and needs, which is a beautiful quality, but I want to make sure she also knows it's okay to ask for what she needs. She asks for things, Ryan said, a little defensively. She tells me when she needs help with homework or when she's not feeling well. Those are practical needs. I'm talking about emotional ones. Mrs. Patterson pulled out one of Lily's drawings, a picture of 2 stick figures, one tall and one small, standing under a rainbow. Last week we did an assignment about wishes. Most kids wished for toys or pets. Lily wished for you to not be sad anymore. The words hit Ryan like a punch to the chest. I didn't know she thought I was sad. Kids notice everything, Mrs. Patterson said quietly, and they internalize it. Lily's taking care of you emotionally because she's smart enough to see you're struggling, even when you try to hide it. Ryan looked at the picture. Lily had drawn him with a smile, but there was something about the way she'd added extra lines around the eyes that suggested she'd been trying to capture something specific. Tired. She'd drawn him looking tired. What do I do? Ryan asked. Let her be 7. Let her worry about dinosaurs in space and whether pterodactyls could really fly. You carry the adult burdens, even when it's hard. Mrs. Patterson smiled. And maybe take care of yourself a little too, because Lily's going to mirror whatever she sees at home. Ryan nodded, not trusting his voice. They spent another 20 minutes going over Lily's academic progress. All excellent, no concerns there, before Ryan escaped to his car and just sat for a minute. His daughter was worried about him being sad. His 7-year-old daughter had looked at his life and decided her wish wasn't for a puppy or a trip to Disneyland, but for him to be okay. Ryan's phone buzzed. Work email again, probably something urgent that could wait until tomorrow. He opened it anyway. From Vivian Cross. Subject: Project Review. Can we move it? Mr. Parker, I realize the mobile interface review is scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Priya mentioned you have a parent-teacher conference Thursday afternoon, and I'm wondering if the scheduling caused any complications. We can move the review to Monday if that's more manageable. VC Ryan stared at the email. Vivian had personally rescheduled a project review. She'd asked Priya about his calendar. She was offering flexibility without him having to request it. He typed back, Ms. Cross, conference is over. I can make tomorrow's meeting, but thank you for asking. Ryan. Her response came within 30 seconds. How did it go? Ryan looked at his phone for a long moment. This wasn't business correspondence anymore. This was something else. He typed, Lily's doing great academically. Apparently she's the class therapist at recess. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. She gets that from you. Ryan. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. Vivian. Neither do I. Different context, same feeling. Ryan. You seem to have everything figured out. Vivian. I'm excellent at pretending, less excellent at actual living. The honesty of that statement made Ryan's chest ache. He sat in his car in the elementary school parking lot, watching other parents collect their kids from after-school programs, and tried to figure out what was happening here. His CEO was texting him about feelings. His CEO, the woman who'd built a billion-dollar empire on being untouchable, was admitting she didn't have everything figured out. His CEO was becoming something that felt dangerously close to a friend. Ryan. For what it's worth, you're doing better than you think. Vivian. Evidence? Ryan. You asked about Lily. You moved the meeting. You're trying. Vivian. Trying doesn't feel like enough. Ryan. It's more than most people do. The 3 dots appeared and stayed there for almost a minute. Ryan watched them, wondering what she was typing and deleting, typing and deleting. Finally, thank you. See you tomorrow at 2. Ryan set his phone down and drove to pick up Lily from her after-school program. She bounded into the car wearing her backpack and carrying 3 different art projects that would definitely end up on their refrigerator. How was school, Bug? Good. We learned about volcanoes and I told everyone about the super volcano under Yellowstone and Mrs. Patterson said I was very informative, but maybe should save scary facts for after lunch. Ryan smiled despite everything. Probably fair. How was work? It was fine. Lily studied him with those 2 perceptive eyes. You look different. Different how? Less tired. She considered. Did something good happen? Ryan thought about Vivian's texts, about the way she'd offered to move the meeting, about the fact that she was trying so hard to be better than the person she'd spent 15 years becoming. Yeah, he said. I think maybe something good happened. Lily beamed at him. Good. You deserve good things, Daddy. And there it was again, his 7-year-old daughter being wise beyond her years, carrying emotional weight she shouldn't have to carry. So do you, Bug. What do you say we get pizza for dinner? Can we get the one with the dinosaur-shaped crust? I don't think that exists. We should invent it. Maybe we should. Ryan drove them home through rush hour traffic, listening to Lily explain her plan for dinosaur-shaped everything, and tried not to think about the fact that he was maybe possibly falling for his boss. It was a terrible idea. It would probably end in disaster, but for the first time in 2 years, Ryan felt like maybe, just maybe, life was about to get more complicated in a good way. The pizza turned out to be regular-shaped, which disappointed Lily for approximately 30 seconds before she discovered that the restaurant had added extra cheese. Ryan watched her devour 2 slices while explaining her latest theory about whether velociraptors could have been domesticated like dogs, and felt something in his chest unclench. Mrs. Patterson's words kept echoing. Let her be 7. Dad? Lily was looking at him with tomato sauce on her chin. You're doing the staring thing again. Sorry, Bug, just thinking. About work? About how lucky I am to have you. Lily rolled her eyes with the dramatic flair only a 7-year-old could muster. You're being mushy. I'm allowed to be mushy. It's in the dad contract. There's no dad contract. Sure there is. Right next to the part that says I get to embarrass you at school functions. Lily giggled, and Ryan committed the sound to memory. These moments, pizza and ridiculous conversations and his daughter being utterly, completely 7 years old, these were what mattered. Not project deadlines or CEO drama or the fact that his heart did stupid things whenever Vivian Cross looked at him. His phone buzzed on the table. Lily's eyes flicked to it. "You can check it," she said quietly. "I don't mind." And that right there was the problem. She should mind. She should complain and demand his attention and act like a kid whose parent was distracted by work. Instead, she was giving him permission. Ryan turned the phone face down. "It can wait. Tell me more about the Velociraptor domestication plan. I feel like there are some logistical issues we need to address." Lily launched into an elaborate explanation involving special training protocols and extra-large dog beds, and Ryan forced himself to be present, to listen, to let work be a problem for tomorrow. But when Lily went to bed and Ryan finally checked his messages, there was another email from Vivian. From Vivian Cross. Subject: "Tomorrow I've been thinking about the project review, and I'd like to suggest a different approach. Instead of the full executive presentation, what if we did a working session, just you, me, and the actual interface? I want to understand your design philosophy, not just see polished slides. If that makes you uncomfortable given our complicated recent interactions, I understand. We can keep it formal." VC Ryan read the email 3 times. A working session meant hours together, close proximity, actual conversation instead of corporate performance. It was either the best idea or the worst idea, and Ryan genuinely couldn't tell which. He typed, "Working session sounds good. I'll bring the prototype builds." Her response came immediately. "Thank you." And Ryan, stop checking work email after 8 p.m. That's an order. Ryan smiled despite himself. "You're emailing me at 9:47. Vivian, do as I say, not as I do. Ryan, that's definitely in the CEO handbook. Vivian, Chapter 3, right after strategic hypocrisy. Ryan, good night, Ms. Cross. Vivian, good night, Ryan. He stared at his name on the screen, not Mr. Parker. Ryan, this was definitely a terrible idea. Ryan closed his laptop and went to bed, where he absolutely did not spend an hour thinking about Vivian's smile when she'd asked about Lily, or the crack in her voice when she'd apologized, or the way she signed her emails with just her initials, like she was trying to be less formal, but didn't quite know how. The next morning, Ryan arrived at the office at 7:30 with 3 different prototype builds loaded on his tablet and a coffee from the good cart downstairs. His hands were steady. He was a professional. He could absolutely handle a working session with his CEO without turning into a disaster. Priya looked up from her desk as he approached Vivian's office. She's been in there since 6. Fair warning, she's reorganized her entire workspace, and I think she changed outfits twice. Why are you telling me this? Because watching you two pretend you're not orbiting each other is the best entertainment I've had in years. Priya grinned. Also because I like you and I don't want her to accidentally terrify you back into purely professional distance. She's trying, she's just not great at people. I've noticed. She asked me yesterday what 7-year-olds like. Spent 20 minutes researching dinosaur facts. Priya's expression softened. That woman has never asked a personal question about anyone's life in the 5 years I've worked here, and now she's learning about pterodactyls, so whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Ryan's chest did something complicated. I'm not doing anything. Sure you're not. Priya waved him toward the door. Go on, she's waiting. Ryan knocked, heard Vivian's crisp, come in, and entered to find her standing by the window with her back to the door. She turned as he entered, and he noticed immediately that Priya was right. This wasn't CEO armor. Vivian was wearing tailored pants and a silk blouse instead of a full suit. Her hair was down instead of pulled back, and she looked almost nervous. Ryan, thank you for coming early. Of course, he set his tablet on the conference table in her office. I have 3 different versions of the interface loaded. We can walk through the user flow for each, and before we start, Vivian interrupted, I need to say something. Ryan's stomach dropped. Here it came. the professional boundary speech, the reminder that Friday night and text messages and dinosaur facts didn't mean anything. Okay, he said carefully. Vivian crossed her arms, then uncrossed them, then seemed to realize she was fidgeting and forced her hands to her sides. I'm not good at this, at being a person instead of a position. My default setting is professional distance because it's safe and I know how to do it. But I'm trying to be better, and that means being honest with you. Honest about what? About the fact that I value your opinion, not just professionally, but personally. I've spent 15 years surrounding myself with people who tell me what I want to hear, and you don't do that. You challenge me. You call me out when I'm wrong. You make me want to be the person I used to think I could be. Vivian took a breath. So when we do this working session, I need you to be completely honest. If my ideas are bad, tell me. If I'm missing something obvious, say it. Don't soften your feedback because I'm your boss. Ryan studied her face. You really want honest feedback? I really do. Okay, Ryan pulled up the first prototype. Then I'll start by saying that your original vision for the mobile interface was brilliant, but completely impractical for actual users. Something flickered in Vivian's expression. Surprise, maybe, or approval. Go on. They spent the next 2 hours dismantling and rebuilding the interface design. Vivian asked sharp questions. Ryan gave detailed answers. They disagreed about navigation flow, debated color schemes, and completely rewrote the user onboarding process while standing shoulder to shoulder at the table. At some point, Vivian's coffee cup ended up next to Ryan's. At some point, their hands both reached for the tablet at the same time, and Vivian pulled back with an apologetic smile. At some point, Ryan forgot to be nervous and just fell into the work the way he did when something genuinely mattered. This is good, Vivian said finally, reviewing the revised mock-ups. This is exactly what we needed. How did you know the 3-step onboarding would solve the abandonment rate? User testing. I recruited 20 people from the coffee cart and bought them free drinks in exchange for 10 minutes of honest feedback. Vivian stared at him. You did grassroots user research at a coffee cart? The best insights come from real people, not focus groups. Plus, the coffee cart has a better demographic mix than our usual testing pool. Ryan pulled up his notes. Turns out people over 50 were abandoning because the initial interface was too cluttered. People under 30 were leaving because it felt patronizing. The 3-step flow solves both problems. That's genius. That's talking to actual humans instead of assuming we know what they want. Vivian was looking at him with an expression Ryan couldn't quite read. You should be leading this entire division. I'm happy where I am. Why? You're clearly capable of more. Because more would mean less time with Lily, and she's more important than any promotion. Ryan met Vivian's eyes. That's not lack of ambition. That's knowing what matters. Vivian was quiet for a moment. I never learned that lesson. It's not too late. Isn't it? Vivian moved to the window, looking out at the city skyline. I'm 42 years old. I've built a company and lost everything else. No family, no real friends, no life outside these walls. What matters to me is quarterly earnings and market share and beating competitors I don't even care about. That's not true. Which part? The part where you don't care about anything else. Ryan joined her at the window. You restructured company policy for parents you'll never meet. You learned dinosaur facts because my daughter likes them. You asked how Lily was doing like it actually mattered to you. It does matter. Then you haven't lost everything. You're just starting to find things worth caring about. Vivian turned to look at him, and the vulnerability in her expression made Ryan's breath catch. What if I don't know how? What if you're already doing it? They stood there in the morning light, close enough that Ryan could see the exact shade of gray in Vivian's eyes, and something shifted in the space between them. Something that felt both dangerous and inevitable. Vivian's phone rang, shattering the moment. She glanced at the screen and her entire posture changed, shoulders back, expression cooling, CEO armor sliding into place. I need to take this, board chair. She answered with crisp professionalism. Robert? Yes, I received your message about the quarterly review. Ryan gathered his tablet and notes, preparing to leave. Vivian covered the phone. Wait, please. This will just take a minute. So Ryan waited, pretending to review his designs while actually listening to Vivian handle whatever crisis the board was manufacturing this week. Her voice never wavered, never showed uncertainty. She was brilliant and commanding and utterly in control. But Ryan had seen the person underneath now. The one who admitted she didn't know how to care about things. The one who looked vulnerable and uncertain and real. Vivian ended the call and turned back to him. Sorry, where were we? You were having an existential crisis and I was being inappropriately honest with my boss. A smile tugged at Vivian's mouth. Right, the usual Friday morning. It's actually Friday? You didn't know what day it was? Single parent. Every day is the same exhausting blur. Ryan checked his watch. Speaking of which, I need to pick Lily up at 3 for her pulmonologist appointment. Of course. Go. This was helpful. Vivian hesitated. Would you want to continue the working session next week? There's a lot more we could refine. Are you asking for more feedback or more time? Vivian's expression shifted into something that might have been a smile if she let herself commit to it. Maybe both. Then yes, next Friday works. It's a date, Vivian caught herself. A meeting, a work meeting, scheduled for professional purposes. Definitely very professional, Ryan agreed, fighting his own smile. He made it to the door before Vivian spoke again. Ryan? He turned back, say, thank you for being honest, for not treating me like I'm untouchable. You're not untouchable, Vivian. You're just scared of being touched. The words hung in the air between them. Ryan saw Vivian's breath catch, saw something crack in her careful composure. Then he left before either of them could say something they couldn't take back. The rest of the day passed in a blur of code and meetings and trying not to think about the way Vivian had looked at him in that moment before her phone rang. Ryan picked up Lily, sat through the pulmonologist appointment, heard that her asthma was stable and the new medication protocol was working, and drove home feeling like his life was balanced on the edge of something. Dad? Lily was drawing in the back seat. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you like your boss? Ryan nearly drove through a red light. What? You talk about her different now. Before you always seemed stressed when you mentioned work. Now you seem happy. 7 years old and reading him like a book. She's become easier to work with, Ryan said carefully. Because she's nicer or because you like her? Lily, it's okay if you like someone, Dad. I want you to be happy. And there it was again. His 7-year-old daughter carrying emotional weight she shouldn't have to carry, worrying about his happiness instead of her own. Bug, my job is to make sure you're happy and safe, not the other way around. But you're always doing stuff for me. Who does stuff for you? Ryan pulled into their apartment complex parking lot and turned to look at his daughter. You do stuff for me all the time. You make me laugh. You show me your drawings. You tell me about volcanoes and dinosaurs and all the amazing things you're learning. That's more than enough. But what about grown-up stuff, like dating and kissing and all that? Where's this coming from? Lily shrugged, suddenly very interested in her drawing. Sophie's mom has a boyfriend now, and Sophie says it's nice because her mom smiles more and they go on adventures together. I was thinking maybe you could have adventures too. Ryan's chest hurt. I have adventures with you. I know, but I mean grown-up adventures. With someone who makes you smile like you smiled this morning when you were looking at your phone. He'd been reading Vivian's text. Of course Lily had noticed. I'm not looking for adventures right now, Bug. I'm happy with our life. But what about when I grow up? You'll be alone. Lily, you're 7. We have a long time before I need to worry about empty nest syndrome. But Lily was looking at him with those 2 wise eyes, and Ryan knew she wouldn't let this go. His daughter had apparently decided he needed someone, and once Lily got an idea in her head, she was relentless. If I were to date someone, Ryan said slowly, it would have to be someone who understood that you come first. Always. Someone who wouldn't ask me to choose between them and you. Like your boss? Ryan blinked. What makes you say that? Because you said she changed the rules so you could come to my appointments and stuff. That means she thinks I'm important. The logic was sound, also terrifying. Ms. Cross is my boss, Bug. That makes things complicated. Why? Because there are rules about bosses and employees dating. Are the rules stupid? Ryan couldn't help but laugh. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes the rules are pretty stupid. They went inside, and Ryan made dinner while Lily did homework at the kitchen table. Normal Friday night routine. Except Ryan kept thinking about Vivian standing at that window, asking what if she didn't know how to care about things. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Vivian. Priya gave me your personal number. I hope that's okay. I wanted to ask, how did Lily's appointment go? Ryan stared at the message. Vivian had gotten his number. Vivian was texting him about Lily. He typed back, all good. Medication is working. Lungs sound clear. Vivian, that's wonderful. I'm glad. Ryan, did Priya also tell you that asking about my kid outside work hours is above and beyond your job description? Vivian, I'm not asking as your boss. The message sat there on his screen, loaded with implication. Ryan, then what are you asking as? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Vivian, I'm not sure yet, but I'd like to find out. Ryan looked across the kitchen at Lily, who was carefully coloring a worksheet about fractions and humming something off-key. His daughter who wanted him to have adventures. His daughter who'd noticed he was happier lately. His daughter who would be absolutely devastated if this went wrong and Ryan lost his job. He typed, this is complicated. Vivian, I know. Ryan, you're my boss. There are power dynamics and HR policies and about 100 ways this could go badly. Vivian, I know that too. Ryan, and if it does go badly, I'm the one who loses, not you. The 3 dots appeared and stayed there for a long time. Vivian, you're right. I have all the power here, which means you have all the risk. That's not fair, and I can't change it. But I can promise that if you tell me to stop, I'll stop. No consequences, no retaliation, no weirdness at work. You have my word. Ryan, why are you doing this? Vivian, because for 15 years I've built my entire life around being untouchable. And then you showed up late to work with coffee stains on your shirt, being completely yourself without apology, and I realized I've been building a prison instead of a life. Ryan's hands were shaking slightly as he typed, I have a 7-year-old daughter who comes before everything else, including this, including you. Vivian, I would never ask you to choose. Lily should come first. She deserves that. Ryan, she asked about you today, wanted to know if I like you. Vivian, what did you tell her? Ryan looked at his phone for a long moment, then he typed the truth. I told her it's complicated, but I didn't say no. Vivian, is that progress? Ryan, I honestly don't know. Vivian, fair enough. I should let you have your evening. Have a good weekend, Ryan. Ryan, you too. He set down his phone and found Lily watching him with a knowing expression. Was that her? She asked. Who? Your boss, the one with the pretty earrings. How did you? Yes, it was her. She was asking about your doctor's appointment. Lily beamed like she'd solved a puzzle. She cares about you. It's not that simple, Bug. Why not? If someone cares about you and you care about them, that's good. That's what friendship is. She's not exactly a friend. What is she? Ryan had no idea how to answer that question. She's someone I work with who's trying to be better than she used to be, and I'm trying to help her do that. By going on adventures? By having conversations, very boring grown-up conversations about work stuff. Lily looked skeptical, but let it drop, returning to her homework. Ryan finished making dinner and tried not to think about the fact that he'd just admitted to Vivian Cross, his CEO, his boss, the person who controlled his career, that he hadn't said no when his daughter asked if he liked her. This was either the beginning of something or the biggest mistake of his life. Ryan was beginning to suspect it might be both. They ate dinner. Ryan helped Lily with her reading practice. They watched half an episode of her current favorite show about talking animals solving mysteries, and then it was bedtime. Normal Friday routine. Everything exactly as it should be. Except when Ryan tucked Lily in and she looked up at him with sleepy eyes, she said, "Dad, if you did go on a grown-up adventure, I'd be okay with it, just so you know." Thanks, Bug. I'll keep that in mind. I mean it. You deserve to be happy too. Ryan kissed her forehead and turned off the light, then stood in the hallway for a long moment trying to remember when his daughter had become so perceptive and so concerned with his emotional well-being. Mrs. Patterson's words echoed again. She's taking on a lot of emotional labor for a 7-year-old. Ryan made a mental note to be more careful about what Lily saw, what she worried about. She should be thinking about dinosaurs and space, and whether she could convince him to get a pet turtle, not whether her father was lonely. His phone buzzed one more time. Vivian, one more thing. Next Friday's working session. Would you be comfortable if we did it somewhere other than my office? Maybe the design lab where there's less formality? Ryan, that works. Why the change? Vivian, because I want you to feel like we're equals, even if technically we're not. Ryan, technically you could fire me with one conversation. Vivian, I would never do that to you, or to Lily. The fact that Vivian included Lily in that statement made something in Ryan's chest ache. Ryan, Design Lab sounds good. See you next week. Vivian, thank you for today, for being honest, for making me think I could be someone different. Ryan, you already are someone different. You just haven't noticed yet. This time Vivian didn't respond, but Ryan could picture her sitting in her perfect penthouse, looking at that message, maybe almost believing it. He got ready for bed, set his alarm for tomorrow's early morning grocery run, and tried to sleep. Instead, he lay awake thinking about Vivian's vulnerability, about Lily's two wise observations, about the fact that his carefully controlled life was starting to spin into something he couldn't predict or manage. And the terrifying part was that he wasn't sure he wanted to stop it. Somewhere across the city, in a penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows, Vivian Cross was probably having the exact same realization. Ryan's last thought before sleep finally claimed him was that Monday morning was going to be very interesting. He had no idea how right he was. Monday morning arrived with Seattle's typical gray drizzle and Ryan's alarm going off at 5:30. He'd slept maybe 4 hours, his mind refusing to quiet down after that text conversation with Vivian. The design lab meeting wasn't until Friday, which meant 5 days of normal work interactions while pretending his CEO hadn't basically admitted she was interested in him as more than an employee. Ryan made coffee, packed Lily's lunch, and was reviewing code on his laptop when his daughter shuffled into the kitchen at 6:45, wearing mismatched socks and her hair sticking up in 3 directions. "Morning, Bug." Lily mumbled something that might have been a greeting and face-planted onto the kitchen table. "Not a morning person today?" "Sophie's having a birthday party Saturday and everyone's going to Laser Quest and I really want to go, but what if I have an asthma attack in the middle and ruin everything?" Ryan closed his laptop and moved to sit beside her. "First, you wouldn't ruin anything. Second, we'll make sure you have your inhaler. Third, when's the last time you had an attack during physical activity?" "Not since the new medicine." "Exactly. You're doing great, Bug. You can handle Laser Quest." Lily lifted her head slightly. "What if the other kids think I'm weird because I have to use my inhaler?" "Then those kids aren't worth worrying about." "But I bet they won't even notice. And if they do, you get to explain how inhalers work and turn it into a teaching moment. You love teaching moments." That got a small smile. "I do like teaching people stuff." "There you go. Now eat breakfast so we're not late." They made it through the morning routine with only minor chaos. One lost shoe, one debate about whether dinosaurs would enjoy Laser Quest, and one moment where Lily informed him his tie was crooked and fixed it with the solemnity of someone performing surgery. Ryan dropped her at school at 8:27, which meant he'd arrive at work at 8:53, which was still technically late by corporate standards, but early by his own recent track record. He was halfway to the office when his phone rang. Vivian's name on the screen made his heart rate spike in a way that was absolutely inappropriate for 8:45 on a Monday morning. "Hello?" "Ryan, good morning." Vivian sounded crisp and professional, like the weekend texts had never happened. "I'm calling about the quarterly product review scheduled for next month. I'd like you to present the mobile interface redesign to the executive team." Ryan pulled into the parking garage. "That's usually a director-level presentation. You did the work. You should present it. Unless you're uncomfortable with public speaking?" "I'm fine with public speaking. I'm questioning why you're giving me this visibility." "Because you earned it." And because I'm tired of taking credit for other people's innovations. Vivian paused. Also because I trust you to handle questions I can't answer about actual user experience. Ryan parked and sat in his car for a moment. This is a big opportunity. It is. Is this because of our conversation Friday? Because I don't need special treatment? This has nothing to do with Friday. Vivian's voice sharpened slightly. This is about putting the right person in front of the board. If anything, I'm correcting a pattern where I've historically taken credit for my team's work. You're not getting an opportunity because I like you, Ryan. You're getting it because you're the best person for the job. The distinction mattered, and they both knew it. Okay, I'll do it. Good. We'll schedule prep sessions over the next few weeks. Priya will coordinate. Vivian hesitated. How was your weekend? The shift from professional to personal gave Ryan whiplash. It was good. Grocery shopping, playground time, the usual excitement. Lily's party is Saturday? Her friend's party. Laser Quest. Lily's convinced she's going to embarrass herself. Why would she think that? Asthma anxiety. She's worried about having an attack in front of other kids. Vivian was quiet for a moment. That's a lot of weight for a 7-year-old to carry. Yeah, I'm working on it. You're a good father, Ryan. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. The gentleness in her voice made his chest tight. Thanks. I should get inside. Of course. See you at the 10 a.m. status meeting. She hung up before he could respond, leaving Ryan sitting in his car trying to figure out how Vivian managed to be both his intimidating CEO and someone who cared about his daughter's birthday party anxieties in the same 2-minute conversation. He grabbed his bag and headed inside, where the day proceeded with aggressive normalcy. Meetings happened, code got written, problems got solved. Ryan saw Vivian twice. Once in the status meeting where she was pure professional excellence, and once in the hallway where she gave him a brief nod that somehow felt loaded with everything they weren't saying. By Wednesday, Ryan had almost convinced himself that Friday's working session would be fine and normal and completely professional. Then Thursday happened. Ryan was deep in code, headphones on, when someone tapped his shoulder. He looked up to find Marcus Chen from the design team looking panicked. We have a problem. Major client presentation tomorrow, and the prototype just crashed, like completely bricked. We can't recover the build. Ryan pulled off his headphones. What happened? No idea. It was working fine yesterday, and this morning it won't even boot. We've tried everything. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. The client's flying in from Tokyo. If we don't have a working demo, we lose a $12 million contract. Where's Sarah? Sarah Kim was the design director, Marcus's boss. Emergency appendectomy. She's in surgery right now. Ryan checked the time. 3:15. When's the presentation? Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Less than 24 hours. Ryan thought about Lily's school schedule, about the fact that tomorrow was supposed to be his remote work day, about the design lab session with Vivian that was supposed to happen at 4. Show me what you've got. The next 6 hours were a blur of debugging, rebuilding, and explaining to increasingly stressed designers that panic wouldn't fix code. Ryan called his neighbor Mrs. Chen at 5 to ask if she could pick up Lily from after-school care. He texted Lily at 6 to explain he'd be late and they'd do pizza for dinner. He ordered food for the design team at 7 and barely tasted his own while walking Marcus through proper version control protocols. At 9:30, Ryan's phone buzzed. Vivian, still at the office? Ryan, design emergency, client presentation tomorrow. Vivian, the Tokyo contract? Ryan, yeah, prototype crashed, we're rebuilding. Vivian, do you need help? Ryan looked around at the design team, all of them exhausted and stressed, but finally making progress. They'd have a working prototype by midnight if they kept this pace. Ryan, we're good, might be here late though. Vivian, I'm coming down. Ryan, you don't need to... But she'd already stopped responding. 5 minutes later, Vivian walked into the design lab carrying 2 boxes of expensive pastries from the bakery that definitely closed at 7. I have connections, she said, setting the boxes on the table. And you all look like you need sugar. The design team stared at their CEO like she'd materialized from another dimension. Vivian Cross didn't visit labs at 9:30 at night. She definitely didn't bring food. Ms. Cross, Marcus stammered, we're handling it. We'll have the prototype ready. I'm not here to supervise. I'm here to help if you need it, or get out of your way if you don't. Vivian looked at Ryan. What's the status? Ryan pulled up the current build. We've recovered about 70% of functionality, still debugging the gesture controls and the data visualization module. Vivian studied the screen. The Tokyo client specifically requested seamless data visualization. That's non-negotiable. I know, that's what we're working on. Can I see the code? Marcus and two other designers exchanged glances. Ryan could read their thoughts clearly. Their CEO wanted to look at actual code, not just polished presentations. Ryan pulled up the relevant files. Vivian leaned over his shoulder, close enough that he caught that same subtle, expensive scent from their Friday working session, and studied the screen with genuine focus. There, she said, pointing. Line 47. That variable declaration is creating a memory leak when you instantiate multiple chart objects. Ryan looked. She was right. How did you catch that in 30 seconds? I built this company writing code, Ryan. I haven't forgotten how. Vivian straightened. Fix that and the visualization module should stabilize. The gesture controls issue is probably related. Check your touch event listeners for conflicts. She was right about that too. Ryan made the fixes while Vivian explained the client's specific requirements to Marcus, demonstrating a level of technical detail that made it clear she'd actually read the contract specs, not just the executive summary. By 11, they had a working prototype. By midnight, they'd tested every feature 3 times. The design team looked exhausted but relieved, and Vivian had somehow transformed from intimidating CEO to collaborative team member without anyone quite noticing the transition. Go home, Vivian told the team. Get some sleep. You did excellent work tonight. They scattered, grabbing their things and offering tired thanks. Marcus paused at the door. Ms. Cross, thank you for the help and the pastries and, not yelling at us for breaking everything. You didn't break anything, Marcus. Technology fails sometimes. How you respond to failure matters more than the failure itself. Vivian smiled slightly. Good luck tomorrow. You'll be great. Marcus left, and suddenly Ryan was alone with Vivian in the empty design lab at 12:15 in the morning. You didn't have to do this, Ryan said quietly. I wanted to. Why? Vivian started gathering coffee cups and food wrappers, tidying the space with careful precision. Because I spent 15 years being the kind of leader who only showed up for victories. I want to be the kind who shows up for struggles too. Ryan helped clean up, and they worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Finally, Vivian spoke again. We missed our working session. Kind of had other priorities. I know. I just want you to know I was looking forward to it. Ryan stopped mid-reach for an empty pastry box and looked at her. Vivian was focused on wiping down the table, not meeting his eyes, and he realized she was as nervous as he was about whatever this thing between them was becoming. Me too, he admitted. We could reschedule. This weekend, maybe, if you're not busy with Lily's friend's party. The party's Saturday afternoon. But Vivian, if we keep finding excuses to spend time together, eventually people are going to notice. I know. She finally looked at him. Is that a problem? It could be. For both of us, but especially for me. Then we'll be careful. Professional at work, personal elsewhere. Vivian set down the cleaning supplies. Unless you'd rather not. I meant what I said. You can tell me to stop and I will. Ryan thought about Lily asking if he liked his boss. About Mrs. Patterson saying he needed to take care of himself too. About the fact that Vivian had shown up tonight with pastries and code expertise and genuine care for his team, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Sunday, he heard himself say. Lily has a play date at Sophie's house from 2 to 5. If you wanted to grab coffee and actually have that working session we keep planning. Vivian's expression shifted into something that looked almost like hope. Coffee sounds good. There's a place near the waterfront called Vessel. Very public, very normal, very much not a date. Definitely not a date, Vivian agreed, and the corner of her mouth quirked up. Just 2 colleagues having a professional discussion about interface design. Exactly. At a coffee shop on a Sunday afternoon. Very normal. Completely appropriate. They were both smiling now, and Ryan felt something in his chest loosen. This was insane. This was probably going to end badly. But standing in an empty design lab after midnight, watching Vivian try and fail to stop smiling, Ryan couldn't bring himself to care. "I should go," he said. "Mrs. Chen is watching Lily and she needs to get home." "Of course, thank you for tonight, for saving the presentation. Thank you for the pastries and the debugging. That memory leak would have taken us hours to find." Vivian walked with him to the elevator, and they rode down to the parking garage in silence that felt charged with everything they weren't saying. When the doors opened, Vivian stayed in the elevator. "Ryan?" He turned back. "I'm glad you're here, at this company, in my life. I know I didn't handle things well at first, but I'm glad I got the chance to know you." The vulnerability in her voice nearly undid him. "I'm glad too." The elevator doors closed between them, and Ryan walked to his car feeling like he'd just crossed some invisible line he couldn't uncross. He drove home through empty streets, let himself into the apartment quietly, and found Mrs. Chen asleep on his couch with a book open on her lap. He woke her gently, thanked her for staying so late, and paid her triple the usual rate over her protests. After she left, Ryan checked on Lily, fast asleep, surrounded by stuffed dinosaurs, and then stood in his kitchen drinking water and trying to process the night. His CEO had debugged code at midnight, had brought pastries, had asked him to coffee on Sunday with an expression that made it clear it was absolutely a date, even though they were both pretending it wasn't. Ryan's phone buzzed. "Vivian. Home safe?" Ryan. "Just got in." "You?" Vivian. "Yes. Thank you again for tonight." Ryan. "Stop thanking me. You did as much work as I did." Vivian. "I liked being useful, being part of the team instead of above it." Ryan. "You're always part of the team. You just usually watch from a distance." Vivian. "I'm trying to close that distance." Ryan. "I noticed." Vivian. "Is that okay?" Ryan looked at his phone for a long moment, thinking about all the reasons this was a terrible idea, all the ways it could go wrong, all the risk he was taking. Ryan. "Yeah, it's okay." Vivian. "Good, get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be intense." Ryan. "You mean today? It's already tomorrow." Vivian. "Semantics. Sleep, Ryan." Ryan. "You too." He set down his phone and went to bed, where he lay awake for another hour, thinking about Vivian's smile in the design lab, about the way she'd explained code to Marcus with patient expertise, about Sunday coffee that was definitely not a date. Friday's presentation went flawlessly. Marcus and the design team nailed every question. The Tokyo client signed the contract on the spot, and Vivian sent an all-staff email praising the team's dedication and specifically calling out Ryan's leadership during the crisis. Ryan spent the afternoon fielding congratulations from colleagues who suddenly viewed him differently, not just as the perpetually late single dad, but as someone who could handle pressure and deliver results. It should have felt good. Instead, Ryan felt hyper-aware of Vivian's eyes on him during meetings, of the way she'd smiled when their team presented, of the fact that Sunday was 2 days away, and he had no idea what he was doing. Saturday brought Lily's friend's party, which turned out to be chaos in the best possible way. Lily didn't have a single asthma issue, tagged Ryan out 3 times in Laser Quest, and came home exhausted and happy and covered in pizza sauce. "That was the best party ever," she declared, while Ryan tried to scrub cheese out of her hair in the bath. "I'm glad you had fun, Bug." Sophie's mom said I was really good at strategy. She said I should join the competitive team. "Competitive Laser Quest?" "It's a thing, Dad. Don't be old." Ryan laughed despite his nerves about tomorrow. "Noted. I will try to be less old." "Are you doing something tomorrow?" Lily asked suddenly. "You have that look." "What look?" "The one you get when you're thinking about stuff, like grown-up stuff." Ryan should have known better than to think he could hide anything from his daughter. "I'm meeting a friend for coffee while you're at Sophie's." "Is it a date?" "It's coffee, Bug." "With who?" Ryan debated lying, decided Lily would see right through it. "With Ms. Cross, from work." Lily's eyes went huge. "The pretty earring lady?" "She has a name." "Are you going on an adventure?" "We're having coffee and talking about work stuff. Very boring adult conversation." Lily looked skeptical but delighted. "You should bring her flowers." Sophie's mom's boyfriend brings flowers and she says it's romantic. It's not romantic, Lily. It's professional. Professional people don't get nervous, Dad. And you're definitely nervous. She had him there. Ryan got Lily to bed, laid out her clothes for tomorrow's play date, and tried not to obsess over what to wear to coffee that was definitely not a date. He settled on jeans and a button-down that Lily once said made him look fancy but not trying too hard, which seemed appropriate. Sunday morning was a production of getting Lily ready and delivered to Sophie's house by 2 p.m. Sophie's mom, Amanda, friendly and recently divorced herself, gave Ryan a knowing look when he mentioned having plans. "Good for you," she said. "You deserve some adult time." "It's just coffee." "Sure it is." Amanda smiled. "Have fun. I'll text if Lily needs anything." Ryan drove to Vessel feeling like he was 17 again, nervous about a first date. Except this wasn't a date, and he wasn't 17, and the woman he was meeting could fire him with one conversation. He arrived at 2:20 to find Vivian already there, sitting at a corner table by the window. She was wearing jeans, actual jeans, and a soft sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, and Ryan had to remind himself to breathe. She looked up as he approached, and her expression shifted into something warm and nervous, and utterly unlike the CEO he saw at work. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Ryan sat down across from her. "You're early." "I was nervous, arrived at 2, and have been pretending to read the same page for 20 minutes. Vivian gestured to the book on the table, something about organizational psychology. "Light reading for a Sunday afternoon. I never claimed to be fun," but she was smiling as she said it. They ordered coffee, Ryan's usual black with 1 sugar, Vivian's complicated oat milk situation, and for a moment just looked at each other. "This is weird," Ryan said finally. "Extremely weird. We should talk about work stuff, make it less weird." "Excellent plan, very professional." Vivian pulled out her tablet. "I actually did want your input on the Q1 product roadmap." They spent 20 minutes discussing features and timelines and user experience priorities, and gradually the nervousness faded into something more comfortable. This was familiar territory, Ryan explaining design philosophy, Vivian asking sharp questions, both of them solving problems together. But then Vivian set down her tablet and said, "Okay, we've been appropriately professional for the required amount of time. Can we talk about the fact that we're both pretending this is a work meeting when we both know it's not?" Ryan's coffee cup paused halfway to his mouth. "You want to have that conversation?" "I want to be honest. I'm tired of pretending I don't look forward to seeing you. I'm tired of finding excuses to text you about work when I really just want to know how your day was. I'm tired of being careful. Vivian, I know all the reasons this is complicated. I know I'm your boss. I know there are power dynamics and HR policies, and the risk is all on your side. I know this could end badly." Vivian met his eyes. "But I also know I haven't felt this alive in 15 years, and I think maybe you feel something too." Ryan set down his coffee cup with careful precision. "I do. I feel something, but I have a daughter to think about. I would never ask you to choose between us. Lily comes first." "You say that now. But what happens when I have to cancel plans because she's sick? What happens when you want me to work late and I can't because she has a school play? What happens when this thing between us gets complicated and messy and you realize I come with more baggage than you signed up for?" Vivian reached across the table and took his hand, and the simple touch sent electricity through Ryan's entire body. "Ryan, I'm 42 years old. I've built a company, won awards, been on magazine covers, made more money than I'll ever spend. None of it made me happy. None of it made me feel like I mattered beyond quarterly earnings and stock prices." Her grip tightened. "And then I met someone who shows up late to work because he's prioritizing his daughter, who rebuilds prototypes at midnight for his team, who calls me out when I'm wrong and challenges me to be better. Someone who makes me want to be the person I used to think I could be before I decided ambition mattered more than humanity. That's a lot of pressure to put on coffee that's not a date." Vivian laughed, and the sound was genuine and unguarded. "Fair point, but I'm not asking for promises or commitments or anything that risks your stability. I'm asking if maybe we could see where this goes." Carefully, with full awareness of the complications, Ryan looked at their joined hands on the table. "If we do this, we need rules, clear boundaries, complete honesty. Agreed. Work stays at work. No special treatment, no favoritism. If anything, you're harder on me than other employees, so nobody can accuse you of bias. I can do that. Lily meets you when and if we're both ready, not before. I won't introduce her to someone unless I'm sure they're staying. Vivian's expression softened. That's more than fair. What else? If this doesn't work, we end it like adults. No drama, no retaliation, no making work unbearable. You give me a professional recommendation and we move forward like it never happened. You're already planning the exit strategy? I'm protecting my kid. That's not negotiable. I understand, and I agree to all of it. Vivian squeezed his hand once and then let go, sitting back. Anything else? Ryan thought about it. Yeah, one more thing. You have to actually tell me what you want. No hints, no subtle suggestions. I'm good at a lot of things, but reading minds isn't one of them. Direct communication. I can work on that. Not work on it, do it. A smile tugged at Vivian's mouth. Okay, then here's me being direct. I like you, Ryan Parker. I like the way you think. I like how you parent your daughter. I like that you're not intimidated by me. And I would very much like to take you to dinner sometime. An actual date, not coffee that we're pretending is work-related. Ryan felt his own smile forming. When? Next Friday, after our actual working session that we keep rescheduling. Lily has a sleepover at Amanda's that night. Perfect timing. Vivian? Yes? I like you too, just so we're being direct. Her expression did something that made Ryan's heart stutter. Good. That makes this significantly less terrifying. They talked for another hour, finishing their coffee and then ordering more, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Vivian told him about growing up with a father who thought emotions were weakness, about building a company from nothing and losing herself in the process. Ryan told her about Lily's mother leaving, about the terror of sudden single parenthood, about learning to measure success in small moments instead of grand achievements. At 4:45, Ryan's phone buzzed. Amanda. Girls are having a blast. Happy to keep Lily longer if you need more time. Had she somehow known this was more than coffee? Ryan showed Vivian the message. Apparently I have a co-conspirator. Sophie's mom? She's been encouraging me to date. Might have mentioned I was meeting someone. Did you tell her it was your boss? I told her it was complicated. She said all the good ones are. Vivian laughed. I like her already. They left the coffee shop as the afternoon light started fading, and Vivian walked Ryan to his car like neither of them wanted the afternoon to end. Thank you, she said when they reached his 10-year-old Honda, for giving this a chance, for being honest about your concerns, for not running away screaming when I showed up at your apartment. That was months ago. I thought you were going to fire me. I was terrified. Of you, of what I was feeling, of everything you represented. Vivian stepped closer. I'm still terrified, but I'd rather be terrified and trying than safe and alone. Ryan reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, letting his hand linger for just a moment. Friday, then. Actual date. I'll pick you up at 7. Very forward of you, Ms. Cross. You said to be direct, Mr. Parker. They stood there in the parking lot, close enough to kiss, but both knowing it was too soon, too public, too much. Finally, Ryan stepped back. I should get Lily. Of course. Have a good evening. You too. Ryan drove to Sophie's house with his heart pounding and his mind racing. He'd just agreed to date his boss, his CEO, the woman who could destroy his career with one conversation. He was either brave or insane, and he genuinely wasn't sure which. Lily bounced into the car full of stories about the playdate, and Ryan listened to her chatter all the way home while trying to figure out how his life had gotten so beautifully complicated in the span of 3 hours. That night, after Lily was asleep, his phone buzzed. Vivian. I had a really good time today. Ryan. Me too, Vivian. Friday feels very far away. Ryan. It's 5 days. Vivian. Like I said, very far. Ryan smiled at his phone like a teenager. This was definitely insane, but he was starting to think it might be worth it. The 5 days until Friday moved with the strange dual quality of dragging endlessly while somehow arriving too fast. Ryan went through the motions at work, meetings, code reviews, The careful dance of maintaining professional distance from Vivian while being hyper-aware of every interaction. They were good at it, or at least they thought they were. Nobody seemed to notice the extra beat of eye contact during the Wednesday status meeting or the way Vivian's hand had brushed Ryan's when she'd handed him a folder on Thursday morning. But Priya noticed everything. "You're different," she said Thursday afternoon, appearing at Ryan's desk with coffee he hadn't asked for. "Different how?" "Less tired, more smiley. You hummed in the elevator this morning." Priya set down the coffee and perched on the edge of his desk. "So either you finally got more than 4 hours of sleep or something else is making you happy." Ryan kept his eyes on his screen. "Maybe I'm just having a good week." "Uh-huh. And maybe our CEO has also been having a suspiciously good week." She actually laughed at Robert's terrible joke in the board meeting. Vivian Cross doesn't laugh at bad jokes. "Priya, I'm not fishing for gossip. I'm saying I'm happy for you, both of you." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "Just be careful, okay? Office romances are complicated enough without the power dynamics you two are navigating." "There's no romance," Ryan said automatically. "Sure. And I'm the Queen of England." Priya walked away before he could respond, leaving Ryan staring at his code and wondering if they were really as subtle as they thought. His phone buzzed. "Vivian. Priya just gave me a very pointed speech about appropriate workplace conduct while smiling the entire time." Ryan. "She's on to us." Vivian. "Apparently we're terrible at hiding things." Ryan. "Should we be worried?" Vivian. "No, Priya's loyal to a fault. She won't say anything, but she's right that we need to be more careful." Ryan. "Agreed. Speaking of which, we still on for tomorrow?" Vivian. "Absolutely. Unless you're having second thoughts." Ryan. "No second thoughts, just first date nerves." Vivian. "You've been married and have a 7-year-old. How are you nervous about a date?" Ryan. "Because the last first date I went on was 11 years ago, and it ended in divorce and single parenthood, so forgive me if I'm a little anxious." The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before Vivian's response came through. Vivian. "I'm nervous too. If it helps, I haven't been on a date in 3 years, and that one ended with him calling me emotionally unavailable and leaving before dessert arrived." Ryan. "Was he wrong?" Vivian. "No. Which is why I'm terrified I'll mess this up before it even starts." Ryan. "Then we'll be terrified together. 7 p.m., right?" Vivian. "I'll pick you up. Wear something nice, but not uncomfortable." Ryan. Very specific guidance. Vivian. "I'm trying this direct communication thing you requested." Ryan smiled at his phone, then forced himself to focus on work for the remaining hours of the day. He had a presentation to prep for next week, code to review, a team meeting to lead. Normal work things that would hopefully distract him from obsessing over tomorrow night. It didn't work. Friday arrived with typical Seattle rain and Ryan's alarm going off at 5:30 to Lily bouncing on his bed. "It's my sleepover day," she announced with the enthusiasm of someone who hadn't been awake for all of 90 seconds. "I'm aware, Bug. We've been planning it all week." Sophie says her mom is making homemade pizza, and we're going to watch movies and build a blanket fort and stay up until midnight. "You're 7. You'll be asleep by 9:30. "Will not. We'll see." Ryan pulled her into a hug. "You have everything packed?" "I packed 3 days ago, Dad. You checked it yesterday and this morning." "Right. Of course." He was definitely not projecting his own date anxiety onto his daughter's sleepover. They went through the morning routine, and Ryan dropped Lily at school with her overnight bag and received approximately 17 reminders about pickup time and sleeping bag location and whether he'd remembered to pack her special dinosaur pajamas. "I've got it, Bug. Have fun tonight, okay?" Lily hugged him hard. "You too, Dad. On your not date with Ms. Cross." Ryan froze. "How did you—" "You laid out nice clothes. You're wearing cologne. You've checked your phone like 100 times. Lily pulled back and gave him a solemn look. "It's okay to be nervous. First dates are scary." "Who told you about first dates?" "Sophie. Her mom goes on lots of them." Lily adjusted her backpack. "Just be yourself. That's what Sophie's mom always says." Ryan watched his 7-year-old dispense dating advice and wondered when exactly she'd become the parent in this relationship. The workday was endless. Ryan sat through meetings without retaining a single word, rewrote the same function 3 times before realizing he'd had it right the first time, and generally operated at about 40% capacity. He saw Vivian once, in passing near the elevators, and she looked as distracted as he felt. "Big weekend plans?" she asked, loud enough for the 2 developers waiting nearby to hear. "Just the usual. You?" "I'm trying something new, actually. We'll see how it goes." Their eyes met for half a second, and Ryan saw his own nervous anticipation reflected back at him. At 4 p.m., Ryan packed up and headed home to shower, change, and engage in the time-honored tradition of trying on 17 different outfits before settling on dark jeans and a charcoal button-down that Lily had once declared made him look like a movie star, but normal. At 5, he dropped Lily at Amanda's house and endured her knowing smile. "Have a wonderful evening, Ryan. Don't worry about pickup time tomorrow. The girls can play all morning if you need to sleep in." The implication was clear. Ryan felt his face heat. "I'll be here by 10. 11 is fine too, really." He escaped before Amanda could make any more pointed comments, drove home, and spent the next 90 minutes cleaning his apartment despite the fact that Vivian wasn't coming inside, reviewing his appearance in every reflective surface, and generally acting like someone who'd forgotten how to function like a normal human. At 6:58, his phone buzzed. "Vivian, I'm downstairs, no pressure, but I'm also possibly hyperventilating." Ryan, "That makes 2 of us. Be right down." He grabbed his jacket, checked his wallet and keys twice, and headed downstairs to find Vivian leaning against a sleek black car that was definitely not her usual Mercedes. She'd traded the corporate armor for dark jeans, heeled boots, and a soft leather jacket over a silk blouse. Her hair was down, her makeup subtle, and she looked simultaneously confident and terrified. "Hi," Ryan said, because his brain had apparently forgotten every other word in the English language. "Hi," Vivian smiled nervously. "You look great." "So do you. Is this a new car?" "It's mine, just not the one I usually drive. The Mercedes felt too much like showing up in a company vehicle." She opened the passenger door for him. "Shall we?" Ryan slid into the leather seat of what he was now noticing was a vintage Porsche, perfectly maintained and probably worth more than he made in 2 years. Vivian got in the driver's side, and for a moment they just sat there in the quiet hum of the engine. "I made reservations at Canlis," Vivian said, "but if that's too formal or too much, we can go literally anywhere else. I wanted this to feel special." Canlis, one of Seattle's most expensive restaurants, the kind of place Ryan had never been because a single appetizer cost what he usually spent on groceries. "Vivian, you don't have to." "I want to, but only if you're comfortable. I know the price tag can be intimidating, and I don't want you to feel like I'm showing off or trying to impress you with money." She was gripping the steering wheel tight enough that her knuckles showed white. "I'm already messing this up." Ryan reached over and gently pried one of her hands off the wheel, lacing his fingers through hers. "You're not messing anything up. Canlis sounds amazing. I'm just not used to being taken somewhere that nice. Your ex-wife never—" "My ex-wife thought Olive Garden was fancy." Ryan squeezed her hand. "This is new territory for me. Good new territory." Vivian visibly relaxed. "Okay, good, great. Let's go before I talk myself out of this entire evening." She pulled into traffic with the easy confidence of someone who'd been driving expensive cars for decades, and Ryan tried not to be obvious about watching her. The way her jaw tensed slightly when changing lanes, the unconscious grace of her movements, the fact that she was actually nervous about this. "Can I ask you something?" Ryan said as they crossed the Aurora Bridge. "Anything. That night you showed up at my apartment, the Friday night months ago when you said I was fired. What were you really doing there?" Vivian was quiet for a long moment, eyes on the road. "I'd convinced myself I needed to remove you before you became a problem, before I started caring about whether you showed up late, or left early, or had a daughter who needed you, before you made me question everything I'd built my life around. And I stood in the rain outside your door ready to fire you, and then Lily appeared and I saw the way you looked at her, like she was your entire world, like nothing else mattered." Vivian's voice dropped. "I realized I'd never had anyone look at me that way. Not my parents, not friends, definitely not romantic partners. And I was about to destroy someone who knew how to love like that because I was too scared to admit I wanted it too. Ryan's chest ached. Vivian, so I lied. I said you were fired because it was easier than saying I was falling for you, and it terrified me. She pulled into the Canlis parking lot and turned off the engine. I've been terrified ever since. They sat in the car in the soft glow of the restaurant's lights, and Ryan made a decision. I'm terrified too, he admitted, because the last time I let myself care about someone, she left, and I had to pick up the pieces while raising a baby alone and wondering what I'd done wrong. So trusting someone again feels like standing on the edge of a cliff. I would never ask you to jump without knowing I'd catch you. But what if you don't? What if this falls apart and I lose my job and my stability and have to explain to Lily why the nice lady from work isn't around anymore? Vivian turned to face him fully. Then I give you the best recommendation anyone's ever written. Help you find a position that pays twice what you make now and make sure you and Lily are taken care of. Even if we crash and burn, Ryan, I won't let you fall. You can't promise that. I can promise I'll try. That's all anyone can promise. Ryan looked at her determined expression, at the vulnerability underneath her confidence, and made his choice. Okay, let's do this. They walked into Canlis together, and Ryan tried not to feel underdressed despite Vivian's assurance that he looked perfect. The host greeted Vivian by name, led them to a table with stunning views of Lake Union, and disappeared with promises of sending their server immediately. You come here often? Ryan asked, studying the menu and trying not to visibly react to the prices. Maybe once a quarter for business dinners, never for anything personal. Vivian set down her menu. Order whatever you want, Ryan. Please don't stress about cost. That's easier said than done when the cheapest entree is $60. Then let me put it this way. I'm a 42-year-old CEO on a first date with someone I genuinely like. Let me have the experience of treating you to something nice without worrying about budget. Put like that, Ryan couldn't really argue. He ordered the halibut, Vivian got the Wagyu beef, and they split a bottle of wine that probably cost more than Ryan's monthly car payment. The food was extraordinary. The view was stunning. But what Ryan would remember most was the conversation. They talked about everything. Vivian told him about growing up in Boston with parents who valued achievement over affection, about being the only woman in most rooms early in her career, about the moment she realized success had cost her the ability to connect with other humans. Ryan told her about meeting Lily's mother in college, about the slow dissolution of their marriage as she resented every sacrifice parenthood required, about the day she'd left and the simultaneous terror and relief he'd felt. Do you still love her? Vivian asked quietly. No, I don't think I have for years. Maybe I never did. Maybe we were just kids who thought love was supposed to be easy. Ryan swirled his wine. But I loved who I thought she was. And I'll always be grateful she gave me Lily, even if she couldn't handle being a mother. Does Lily ever ask about her? Sometimes. Less than she used to. She knows her mom lives in San Francisco, knows she can call anytime, knows she chose to leave. Ryan's jaw tightened. What she doesn't know is how much that rejection hurt. How many nights I held her while she cried for a mommy who didn't want to come home. Vivian reached across the table and took his hand. You're a good father, Ryan. The best kind, the one who shows up even when it's hard. I'm just doing what needs to be done. That's what makes it remarkable. Most people don't. They finished dinner and lingered over coffee, neither wanting the evening to end. Finally, around 10, Vivian paid the check over Ryan's protests and they walked back to the car. Thank you, Ryan said as Vivian started the engine. For tonight. For being honest. For taking a chance on this. Thank you for giving me one. Vivian pulled out of the parking lot. Can I ask you something now? Fair's fair. What are you hoping happens next? With us, I mean. What does this look like in your ideal world? Ryan thought about it. Honestly, I want to keep doing this. Getting to know you outside of work. Seeing if this feeling is real or just the excitement of something new. And if it is real, figuring out how to build something that works with our complicated situation. That's very practical. I have a daughter to think about. I can't afford to be impractical. What about what you want, separate from Lily? I want to see you smile more. I want to hear about the person you were before you built all these walls. I want to know what makes you happy beyond quarterly earnings and market share. Ryan paused. And I want to kiss you, but I'm trying to be respectful about pacing. Vivian's breath caught. What if I don't want you to be respectful about pacing? Then I'd say we should probably not be in a moving vehicle for this conversation. Vivian pulled into a parking spot overlooking the water. Not Ryan's apartment, not her place, somewhere neutral and quiet. She turned off the engine and shifted to face him. I haven't done this in a long time, she admitted. Neither have I. What if I'm terrible at it? What if we're both terrible at it, and that's okay? Vivian laughed nervously, and Ryan cupped her face gently, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. She leaned in, and when their lips met, it felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the same time. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of them learning each other. Then Vivian's hand slid into Ryan's hair, and something shifted. The kiss deepened, became more certain, and Ryan forgot about complications and power dynamics and every reason this was a terrible idea. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vivian rested her forehead against his. Okay, she whispered. Definitely not terrible at it. Ryan laughed, giddy and breathless. Agreed. They sat there for a while, foreheads touching, just breathing together. Finally, Vivian pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I should get you home. It's late and you have Lily pick up tomorrow. 11, actually. Amanda gave me permission to sleep in. Scandalous, Vivian smiled. Still, I don't want to rush this. She drove Ryan home and they sat in the car outside his apartment building like teenagers afraid to end the night. So, Ryan said, this was good. Very good. Same time next week? I was hoping for sooner, but I'll take what I can get. Vivian turned to face him. Ryan, I know we're being careful at work, but I need you to know this matters to me. You matter to me. You matter to me too. Ryan leaned over and kissed her softly. Good night, Vivian. Good night. He made it inside and up to his apartment, where he stood in his quiet living room, feeling like his entire world had shifted on its axis. His phone buzzed. Vivian, I'm sitting in my car smiling like an idiot. Just thought you should know. Ryan, same, except in my apartment. Vivian, best first date I've ever had. Ryan, same. And I say that as someone whose last first date ended in an 11-year relationship and a kid. Vivian, no pressure then. Ryan, none at all. Sleep well, Vivian. Vivian, you too, Ryan. He went to bed and actually slept well for the first time in weeks, waking up Saturday morning with a lightness he hadn't felt in years. He picked up Lily at 11 to find both girls still in their pajamas and Amanda grinning knowingly. Good night? She asked innocently. Very professional, Ryan deadpanned. Sure. And I'm also the Queen of England. She handed him Lily's bag. Same time next month? The girls had a blast. Sounds good. Lily chattered all the way home about the sleepover, the movies, the blanket fort that had collapsed twice, and whether they could get a puppy because Sophie had one, and it was the best thing ever. Maybe, Ryan said, which was his standard answer to impossible requests. You're smiley, Lily observed. Did your not date go good? It went well, yes. Are you going to see her again? Probably. Lily considered this. Can I meet her sometime? Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Maybe. Someday. If things keep going well. Because you don't want me to meet someone unless they're staying? Exactly. Where did you learn that? Sophie's mom has rules about when Sophie meets her dates. She says kids need stability. Lily swung her legs in the back seat. I think it's a good rule. Me too, Bug. They spent the weekend doing normal things, grocery shopping, playground time, a movie that Lily picked involving talking animals, and too much singing. Ryan's phone buzzed periodically with texts from Vivian. Nothing urgent or demanding, just small observations about her day or questions about his. It felt natural, easy, like maybe this could actually work. Monday morning arrived with Seattle's typical rain and the return to professional distance at work. Ryan and Vivian were careful. No lingering eye contact, no unnecessary conversations, Nothing that would make anyone question their relationship. They were colleagues. That was all anyone needed to know. But Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. Ryan was in a meeting when his phone rang. Lily's school. He stepped out immediately, his heart already racing. Mr. Parker, this is Nurse Williams. Lily's having an asthma episode. We've administered her rescue inhaler, but we think she needs to see her doctor. I'm on my way. Ryan grabbed his keys and was halfway to the elevator when he ran into Vivian in the hallway. Ryan, what's wrong? Lily, asthma. I need to go. Of course, go. Do you need anything? Ryan's mind was spinning. I have the Chen project meeting at 3. Can you cover? Absolutely. Don't worry about work. Just take care of your daughter. Ryan made it to Lily's school in record time, found her in the nurse's office, looking small and scared and struggling to breathe normally despite the inhaler. Hey, Bug, I'm here. Dad, Lily's voice was thin. I couldn't breathe right. I know. We're going to the doctor, okay? You're going to be fine. The pulmonologist fit them in immediately, listened to Lily's lungs, adjusted her medication protocol, and declared it was likely triggered by the spring pollen levels. She's stable now, Dr. Reeves assured Ryan, but I want to see her again next week to monitor the new dosage. By the time Ryan got Lily home and settled with her nebulizer and her favorite dinosaur documentary, it was past 5. His phone had 17 missed messages, 3 from work, 14 from Vivian. The work ones he ignored. Vivian's he opened. Vivian. How is she? Vivian. I covered your meeting. Chen project is fine. Vivian. Please let me know when you can that Lily's okay. Vivian. I'm worried. Not as your boss, as someone who cares about both of you. And then sent 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry if I'm overstepping. I just need to know she's safe. Ryan typed. She's okay. Medication adjustment. Resting now. Thank you for covering the meeting. Vivian's response was immediate. Thank God, I've been useless all afternoon worrying. Ryan. You barely know her. Vivian. I know she matters to you. That makes her matter to me. Ryan looked at his phone, at those words, and felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't casual dating. This wasn't two people seeing where things went. This was Vivian caring about his daughter without having met her, worrying about a 7-year-old's asthma attack, being exactly the kind of person Ryan needed her to be. Ryan. She wants to meet you, not now, but eventually, when we're ready. Vivian. I'd like that, whenever you think it's right. Ryan. I'm scared. Vivian. Of what? Ryan. Of her getting attached and you leaving. Of this not working and having to explain to my daughter why another person chose not to stay. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Vivian. I can't promise I won't mess this up. I probably will multiple times because I'm new at being a person who cares about things. But I can promise I won't leave without trying everything to fix it first. And I can promise that if I do leave, it won't be because I didn't care enough. It'll be because I wasn't capable of being what you needed. Ryan. That's remarkably honest. Vivian. You asked for direct communication. Ryan. I did, and I appreciate it, even when it's scary. Vivian. How long until Lily's feeling better? Ryan. Few hours, probably. Why? Vivian. Because I'd like to bring dinner. Nothing fancy, just food so you don't have to cook, if that's okay. Ryan looked toward the living room where Lily was curled up with her nebulizer mask and her brontosaurus, and made another decision. Ryan. That would be really nice. Thank you. Vivian. Chinese or Italian? Ryan. Lily likes lo mein. Extra noodles, no vegetables. Vivian. Done. I'll be there in an hour. Ryan spent the next hour simultaneously trying not to panic and also cleaning his apartment like Vivian hadn't already seen it in all its chaotic single dad glory. Lily perked up slightly when he mentioned a friend was bringing dinner. Is it Miss Cross? She asked with 7-year-old directness. Yes. Is that okay? Lily considered this seriously. Is she nice when she's not at work? She's trying to be. Okay, but if she's mean to you, I'm going to tell her to leave. Ryan hugged his fierce little defender. Deal. When Vivian knocked at 7, Ryan opened the door to find her holding 3 bags of Chinese food and looking more nervous than he'd ever seen her. Hi, she said. I brought enough for an army because I wasn't sure what anyone liked. Come in. Vivian stepped inside and Ryan watched her take in the cluttered apartment with its dinosaur drawings on the fridge and Lily's shoes by the door and all the evidence of a life lived at high speed. Lily appeared from the living room, still in her pajamas, hair in messy braids, regarding Vivian with solemn assessment. Hi, Lily, Vivian said softly. I'm Vivian. I brought lo mein. With extra noodles? And absolutely no vegetables. Lily's expression shifted slightly toward approval. Dad says you're trying to be nice. I am. It's harder than it looks. Being nice isn't hard. You just care about people's feelings. You're absolutely right. I'm still learning how to do that properly. Vivian knelt down to Lily's eye level. Your dad tells me you know a lot about dinosaurs. I've been reading about pterodactyls. Did you know they probably couldn't actually take off from the ground? They had to launch from high places. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Their wings were too big for ground takeoff. They needed elevation. And just like that, Lily launched into an explanation of pterodactyl aerodynamics that she'd learned from her favorite documentary, and Vivian listened like it was the most fascinating thing she'd ever heard. Ryan stood in his tiny kitchen, watching his CEO sit cross-legged on his living room floor discussing prehistoric flight mechanics with his 7-year-old daughter, and fell completely, irrevocably in love. This was going to complicate everything, and he didn't care at all. They ate lo mein on the living room floor because Lily insisted it was more fun than the table, and Vivian didn't hesitate before sitting cross-legged on the worn carpet like she'd been doing it all her life. Ryan watched them talk, Lily animated despite her earlier breathing trouble, Vivian genuinely engaged in a conversation about whether Stegosaurus plates were for temperature regulation or defense, and tried to reconcile this version of Vivian with the ice-cold CEO who'd terrified him for months. Dad spaces out sometimes, Lily informed Vivian seriously. It's because he thinks too much. I've noticed that about him, Vivian said, and the warmth in her voice when she glanced at Ryan made his chest ache. After dinner, Lily's energy flagged and Ryan carried her to bed despite her protests that she wasn't tired. By the time he returned to the living room, Vivian had cleaned up the takeout containers and was standing by the window looking out at the rain. Thank you, Ryan said quietly, for coming. For bringing dinner, for being so good with her. She's remarkable. You've done an incredible job raising her. I'm mostly just trying not to mess her up too badly. Vivian turned to face him. Ryan, she's confident and curious and kind. She advocates for herself and cares about other people's feelings. That doesn't happen by accident. Ryan moved closer, drawn to her like gravity. She likes you. That's not something that happens easily. The feeling is mutual. Vivian reached up and touched his face gently. I meant what I said, about not leaving without trying, about her mattering to me. Ryan kissed her then, soft and certain, and felt something settle in his chest that had been restless for years. When they broke apart, Vivian was smiling. I should go, let you both rest. Stay a little longer. She's asleep, and I'm not ready for you to leave yet. They settled on the couch, Vivian tucked against Ryan's side, and talked in quiet voices about everything and nothing. How Vivian's father had called that week to criticize her latest quarterly report. How Lily's teacher thought she should skip a grade in reading. How neither of them had imagined their lives would look like this. I thought I'd be married with kids by now, Vivian admitted. Back when I was young and still believed I could have everything. Then I chose the company and told myself the rest didn't matter. Does it matter now? Yes. Because of you, because of Lily, because I'm starting to understand what I gave up. She lifted her head to look at him. I'm 42, Ryan. Even if I wanted children of my own, that window is basically closed. Does that bother you? I have a child. I'm not looking for more kids. I'm looking for a partner who understands that Lily comes first and doesn't resent that. I would never resent her. You say that now, but what about when I have to cancel our plans because she's sick? What about when work conflicts with her school play and I choose the play? What about when she's a teenager and even more complicated than she is now? Vivian sat up fully, turning to face him. Then I'll understand about the canceled plans. I'll go to the school play with you. I'll help navigate the teenage years if you want me there for them. Her voice was fierce. I'm not your ex-wife, Ryan. I'm not going to leave because parenthood is hard. I run a billion-dollar company. I understand hard. And I understand that the best things in life require sacrifice. Ryan pulled her close again, breathing in her scent, letting himself believe this could work. They stayed like that until Vivian's phone buzzed with an early morning meeting reminder, and she reluctantly stood to leave. At the door, she kissed him again. I'll see you tomorrow at work. Professional distance and all that. Professional distance, Ryan agreed. Mentorship. Absolutely no one can know I'm falling for my boss. Vivian's breath caught. Falling? Is that a problem? No, it's terrifying and wonderful, and I'm falling too. She kissed him once more. Good night, Ryan. He watched her drive away, then checked on Lily one more time before going to bed himself. His phone buzzed as he was setting his alarm. Vivian. I can't stop smiling. Just thought you should know. Ryan. Me neither. Sleep well. Vivian. Dream of me. Ryan. Always. The next 2 weeks passed in a careful dance of professional distance at work and stolen moments everywhere else. They were good at hiding it, or so they thought, until the Friday afternoon when Ryan was called into a meeting with HR and Vivian. His stomach dropped. Someone had noticed. Someone had reported them. This was it, the moment where everything fell apart. But when he arrived at the conference room, Vivian's expression was calm, and the HR director, Patricia, was smiling. Mr. Parker, please sit. This isn't what you're worried it is. Ryan sat cautiously. Then what is it? It's come to our attention that you and Miss Cross have begun a personal relationship. Patricia folded her hands on the table. Before you panic, this isn't a disciplinary meeting. This is a disclosure conversation. Vivian spoke up. I informed HR this morning about our relationship. Company policy requires disclosure of any romantic involvement between employees at different levels, along with a plan to manage potential conflicts of interest. We're not violating any policies? Ryan asked carefully. Not as long as you disclose and manage appropriately, Patricia confirmed. Cross Innovations doesn't forbid workplace relationships. We just require transparency. Ms. Cross has proposed that all decisions regarding your employment, compensation, and advancement be handled by her COO instead of her directly. She'll recuse herself from any situation where personal bias could affect professional judgment. Ryan looked at Vivian. You're giving up authority over my career? I'm ensuring no one can ever accuse me of favoritism or you of sleeping your way to advancement. Vivian's voice was steady. Your talent stands on its own, Ryan. I won't let our relationship compromise that. Patricia slid papers across the table. We need both of you to sign these acknowledgement forms. They outline the boundaries we're establishing and confirm you both understand the company's expectations regarding professional conduct. Ryan read through the documents carefully. Everything was fair, clearly outlined, designed to protect both of them. He signed. One more thing, Patricia said as she collected the forms. The company, Grapevine being what it is, expects some gossip. My advice is to hold your heads high and let your work speak for itself. After Patricia left, Ryan and Vivian sat alone in the conference room. You could have warned me, Ryan said. I wanted to handle it properly before involving you. Make sure HR understood this was serious, not some casual fling that would burn out in a month. Vivian reached across the table and took his hand. I'm in this, Ryan. Fully. I wanted the company to know that too. What if it affects your reputation? The board might not like their CEO dating an employee. The board works for the shareholders, and the shareholders care about results. As long as I keep delivering those, my personal life is my own business. Vivian squeezed his hand. Besides, I'm tired of hiding who I care about. Ryan smiled despite his lingering nerves. So we're official. Officially disclosed to HR anyway. Whether we go public is up to you. Lily's been asking when she can see you again. Yeah? What did you tell her? That you were busy being important and running a company. Ryan stood, pulling Vivian up with him. But I think maybe this weekend we could do something. The three of us, if you want. Vivian's expression did something that made Ryan's heart stutter. I would love that. What does Lily like to do? This weekend is the Pacific Science Center's dinosaur exhibit. I've been promising to take her for weeks. Perfect. I'll meet you there Saturday at 10. You don't have to. Ryan, I want to spend time with both of you. Stop making excuses for me to not be part of your life. He kissed her then, right there in the conference room with its glass walls and potential for anyone to see, because she was right. He needed to stop protecting himself from the possibility of happiness. Saturday arrived with rare Seattle sunshine, and Ryan and Lily met Vivian outside the Science Center at 10. Lily had dressed herself in dinosaur leggings and a t-shirt declaring paleontologist in training, and she bounced excitedly when she spotted Vivian. You came! Dad said you might be too busy. I'm never too busy for dinosaurs, Vivian said seriously. She was wearing jeans and a casual sweater, her hair in a simple ponytail, looking more relaxed than Ryan had ever seen her. Lily grabbed Vivian's hand without hesitation and dragged her toward the entrance, launching into a detailed explanation of which exhibits they absolutely had to see first. Ryan followed behind, watching his daughter and his girlfriend bond over fossilized bones and evolutionary biology, and felt something in his chest expand. They spent 3 hours at the Science Center. Vivian listened to every single one of Lily's dinosaur facts with genuine interest, asked intelligent questions that made Lily preen, and bought them all overpriced ice cream from the cafeteria without blinking. When Lily got tired, Vivian hoisted her onto her shoulders for a better view of the T-Rex skeleton, and Ryan took a photo of them both grinning up at the massive skull. Later, after they dropped an exhausted Lily back at the apartment for a nap, Ryan and Vivian sat in her car in comfortable silence. Thank you, Ryan said, for today, for being so good with her. I had fun. She's brilliant and funny, and I genuinely enjoyed myself. Vivian turned to face him. Is it always like this, the single parent thing? Pretty much. Constant motion, endless questions, permanent exhaustion punctuated by moments of absolute joy. I can see why you chose it over everything else. It wasn't really a choice. It was just what needed to happen. Ryan took her hand. But having you here makes it feel less like drowning and more like living. Vivian kissed him softly. I should go. I have a board meeting to prep for Monday, but same time next week? Lily would be devastated if you didn't come back. Just Lily? Okay. I'd be pretty devastated too. They fell into a routine after that. Weekdays were professional, meetings and projects and careful distance at work. Weekends were theirs, science museums and playground visits and quiet evenings after Lily went to bed. Vivian integrated into their lives with surprising ease, learning Lily's medication schedule and favorite foods, showing up to school pickups when Ryan was running late, becoming someone they both relied on. But 4 weeks into their relationship, everything nearly fell apart. Ryan was presenting the mobile interface redesign to the board, the opportunity Vivian had given him months ago. He'd prepared extensively, knew his material inside and out, and was confident the presentation would go well. Until Richard Morrison, the board's most hostile member, started asking questions clearly designed to undermine Ryan's authority. This is impressive work, Mr. Parker, though I have to wonder how much of it is actually yours versus how much came from Ms. Cross's guidance. Ryan kept his voice level. The design philosophy and implementation are entirely my own. Ms. Cross provided strategic direction on business priorities, but the technical execution was my team's work. Convenient that you're dating the CEO. Makes it easier to take credit for company resources. The conference room went silent. Ryan felt his face heat, saw Vivian's expression go dangerously cold. That's completely inappropriate, she said icily. Is it? The company disclosed your relationship 4 weeks ago. This presentation was scheduled 6 weeks ago. It's not unreasonable to question whether personal involvement influenced professional decisions. Ryan found his voice. The interface redesign began 8 months ago, long before Ms. Cross and I started dating. The metrics speak for themselves. User engagement is up 47%, retention increased 32%, and revenue from the mobile platform grew by $18 million. Those results exist independent of any personal relationship. So you say. But perception matters, Mr. Parker. And the perception is that you're receiving opportunities because you're sleeping with the boss. Vivian stood so abruptly, her chair rolled backward. This meeting is over, Richard. My office in 5 minutes. Everyone else, thank you for your time. Ryan's presentation speaks for itself, and if anyone has questions about the data, my COO can address them. She walked out, and Ryan stood frozen as the board members filed past him with varying expressions of sympathy and discomfort. Patricia from HR appeared at his elbow. Don't let Morrison get to you. He's been trying to undermine Vivian for years. This isn't about you. It's about him wanting control. He's not wrong, though. People will think I'm getting special treatment. Then prove them wrong. Keep doing excellent work. Let the results speak louder than the gossip. Patricia squeezed his shoulder. You earned this opportunity, Ryan. Don't let anyone take that from you. Ryan made it back to his office and closed the door, his hands shaking with anger and humiliation. His phone buzzed almost immediately. Vivian, I'm so sorry. Morrison is being dealt with. Ryan, he's right, though. People think I'm using you for career advancement. Vivian, people will think what they want regardless of truth. Ignore them. Ryan, easy for you to say. You're not the one being accused of sleeping your way to success. He regretted the text immediately, but it was too late. Vivian didn't respond. Ryan spent the rest of the afternoon in a spiral of anger and self-doubt. Maybe Morrison was right. Maybe he had been benefiting from personal bias without realizing it. Maybe the promotion, the raise, the presentation opportunity, maybe none of it was truly earned. At 6 p.m., there was a knock on his office door. Vivian entered without waiting for permission, closed the door behind her, and locked it. We need to talk, she said. Vivian, I'm not in the mood. Too bad. You're going to listen. She moved to stand directly in front of his desk. Richard Morrison is a misogynistic snake who's been trying to force me out since I became CEO. He went after you because he knows the fastest way to undermine me is to make people question my judgment. This has nothing to do with your actual qualifications and everything to do with him wanting control. That doesn't change the fact that he's got a point. I am getting opportunities because we're dating. No, you're getting opportunities because you're brilliant. The relationship just made me see what I was too stupid to notice before. Vivian's voice was fierce. You were the best designer I had 8 months ago when I could barely stand to look at you. You're still the best designer I have now. The only thing that's changed is that I'm finally giving you the recognition you always deserved. People won't see it that way. Then we prove them wrong. You keep doing exceptional work. I keep recusing myself from decisions about your career, and we show everyone that our relationship exists separate from our professional lives. Vivian softened slightly. But if this is too hard, if the pressure is too much, we can end it. I won't let our relationship destroy what you've built. Ryan stood, moving around the desk to face her. Is that what you want? To end it? No, but I want you to be happy more than I want you to be mine. What if I can be both? Can you? After today, can you honestly say this is worth the cost? Ryan thought about Lily asking when Vivian was coming over again, about quiet evenings on the couch after his daughter went to sleep, about someone finally seeing him as both a father and a person, both parts equally important. Yes, it's worth it. Morrison's an ass and people will gossip, but I'm not giving you up because other people are small-minded. Vivian's expression cracked. You're sure? I'm sure. But we need rules. Real boundaries this time. Ryan took her hands. You stay out of all career decisions involving me. No special treatment, no exceptions. If someone tries to use our relationship against either of us, we handle it together, not separately. And we're completely transparent with HR about any potential conflicts. Agreed. And one more thing. The next time someone questions my competence because I'm dating you, you let me defend myself. I don't need you fighting my battles. That's going to be very difficult for me. I know. Do it anyway. Vivian pulled him close, resting her forehead against his. I hate that loving you makes your life harder. I hate that your board is full of dinosaurs who can't handle their CEO having a personal life. Ryan kissed her softly. But I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Promise? Promise. They stood like that for a long moment before Vivian reluctantly pulled away. I should go. Professional distance and all that. See you tomorrow? Lily invited me to her school play next Friday. Something about pilgrims and Native Americans. Ryan groaned. The Thanksgiving pageant. I tried to warn her that historical accuracy wasn't their strong suit, but she's very excited about her costume. I wouldn't miss it. I'll meet you there at 6? Vivian, you don't have to. I want to. Stop trying to give me excuses to not be part of your life. After she left, Ryan sat in his office and tried to process the day. The humiliation of Morrison's accusations, the fear that maybe people were right, the relief of Vivian's fierce defense. His phone buzzed with a text from Lily's school reminding him about the pageant, and Ryan realized he'd nearly forgotten about it in all the drama. The next week passed in a blur of work and preparation. Ryan ignored the whispers when he walked past groups of colleagues, focused on his projects, and let his work speak for itself. The mobile interface numbers kept improving, proving that his success was based on merit, not favoritism. Friday arrived with typical November rain and Ryan's anxiety about the school pageant. Lily had been practicing her 2 lines for weeks, and she was convinced she would forget them the moment she stepped on stage. "You'll be great, Bug," Ryan assured her that morning. "What if I mess up?" "Then you mess up, and the world keeps turning. But you won't mess up because you know your lines better than anyone." Vivian met them at the school at 6. Carrying flowers for Lily that made his daughter's eyes go huge. "These are for me?" "For after your performance," Vivian said. "A tradition in theater. You give flowers to the performers." Lily clutched the bouquet like it was made of diamonds. "I'm going to be the best pilgrim ever." She ran off to join her class backstage, and Ryan and Vivian found seats in the packed auditorium. Other parents filled the rows armed with cameras and proud smiles, and Ryan tried not to feel self-conscious about Vivian's presence. "You okay?" she asked quietly. "Just thinking about how different this is from last year. Last year I came alone and left alone and felt like I was failing at everything." "You've never failed at anything that matters." "I failed at marriage." "You survived a marriage that was already failing. That's not the same thing." Vivian took his hand. "And look at where you are now. Lily's thriving, your career is exploding, and you have someone who thinks you're remarkable." "You're biased." "Doesn't make it less true." The pageant started, and it was exactly as historically questionable as Ryan had feared, but Lily was radiant. She remembered her lines, projected to the back row, and beamed when she spotted Ryan and Vivian in the audience. Afterward, she ran to them, clutching her flowers and talking a mile a minute about how scary and exciting it had been. "You were perfect," Vivian told her seriously. "Did you see when Tommy forgot his line? I whispered it to him and Mrs. Patterson didn't even notice." "That was very kind of you." They went out for celebratory pizza, the regular kind, no dinosaur shapes, and Lily monopolized the conversation with a detailed breakdown of everything that had happened backstage. Ryan watched Vivian listen with genuine interest, asking questions and laughing at Lily's impressions of her classmates, and felt his heart expand. This was his life now, chaotic and messy and full of school plays and dinosaur facts, and a woman who somehow made all of it better. Later, after they dropped Lily at home and she'd finally fallen asleep clutching her pageant flowers, Ryan and Vivian sat on his couch in comfortable silence. "Thank you for coming," Ryan said. "It meant a lot to her, to both of us." "I wouldn't have missed it." Vivian shifted to face him. "I've been thinking about something, about what Morrison said last week." "Vivian, we already dealt with that. Not about the accusations, about perception." She took a breath. "I'm restructuring the company." Ryan blinked. "What?" "I've spent 15 years building Cross Innovations into exactly what my father said I couldn't. I've proven everything I needed to prove. And in the process, I created a culture that values work over people, success over humanity. I don't want to do that anymore." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm promoting Elena to CEO. She's brilliant, ambitious, and ready for the role. I'll stay on as board chair and strategic advisor, but I'm stepping back from daily operations." Vivian's voice was steady. "I want a life, Ryan. A real one. I want to go to school plays and Sunday museum visits without constantly checking my phone. I want to be present for the people who matter instead of always being pulled away by the next crisis." "This is huge. Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything. I built something extraordinary, and now I get to decide what comes next. And what I want next is you and Lily, and maybe a life that doesn't require sacrificing everything else." Ryan pulled her close, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she was offering. You don't have to give up your company for me. I'm not giving it up. I'm choosing something better. There's a difference. Vivian kissed him softly. Besides, this solves our professional conflict problem. If I'm not CEO, we're not violating any workplace relationship policies. Vivian Cross, strategic problem solver to the end. It's what I do best. They sat together in the quiet apartment, making plans for a future that suddenly felt real and possible instead of dangerously fragile. Vivian would announce the transition after the holidays, giving Elena time to prepare and the board time to adjust. Ryan would continue his work, now free from the shadow of favoritism accusations, and together they would figure out how to build something neither of them had thought possible. Ryan? Vivian's voice was soft in the darkness. I love you. I should have said it before now, but I'm saying it now. I love you and Lily and this chaotic, beautiful life you've built. Ryan's throat tightened. I love you too. And I'm terrified and grateful in equal measure. Same. They fell asleep on the couch, tangled together, and Ryan woke at midnight to Lily standing in the doorway in her dinosaur pajamas. Is Vivian staying over? She whispered. Just fell asleep. She'll go home soon. Lily patted closer, studying Vivian's sleeping face with serious concentration. She looks nice when she's not being important. She's nice when she is being important too, just harder to see it. I like her, Dad. I like her too, Bug. Are you going to marry her? Ryan blinked at his 7-year-old's bluntness. Maybe someday, if things keep going well. I think they will. She looks at you the way you look at me when you think I'm asleep, like you're the best thing ever. From the mouth of his too wise daughter. Ryan kissed Lily's forehead. Back to bed, Bug. Can I have one more hug first? He gathered her up, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, and held on tight to this moment. His daughter healthy and happy, his girlfriend sleeping on his couch, his life somehow transformed from lonely survival into something worth celebrating. Lily hugged him back fiercely, then whispered in his ear, I'm glad you found your adventure, Dad. Ryan's eyes burned. Me too, Bug. Me too. After Lily went back to bed, Ryan gently woke Vivian to say goodbye. She looked up at him sleepily, soft and unguarded, and he fell in love all over again. I should go, she mumbled. Let you sleep. Or you could stay, properly. Lily already knows you're here. Are you sure? Very sure. Vivian smiled and pulled him back down to the couch. They relocated to Ryan's bedroom, and he held her while she slept, feeling like his life had finally clicked into place. 6 months later, Vivian's CEO transition was complete, and she'd moved into a smaller downtown condo that actually felt like a home instead of a showpiece. She and Ryan had fallen into an easy rhythm of weeknight dinners and weekend adventures, with Lily as their enthusiastic third member. The gossip at work had faded once people realized Ryan's success continued independent of his relationship with the former CEO. The mobile interface won industry awards, Ryan got promoted to senior director, and nobody could credibly claim it was favoritism when Elena was making those decisions. One Saturday in late spring, they were at the beach watching Lily hunt for shells when Vivian turned to Ryan with unusual nervousness. I've been thinking about something, she said. Dangerous activity. Serious, actually. Vivian pulled a small box from her jacket pocket. I know this is unconventional. I know traditionally the man proposes, but I've spent my whole life following other people's rules about how things should be done, and I'm tired of it. Ryan's heart stopped. Vivian, let me finish. You and Lily have given me something I didn't know I was missing. A family, a home, a life that matters beyond quarterly earnings and stock prices. I don't want to spend another day not being absolutely certain we're building a future together. She opened the box to reveal a simple silver band. So, Ryan Parker, will you marry me? Ryan looked at the ring, at Vivian's nervous expression, at Lily building a sandcastle 30 feet away, and felt joy expand in his chest like sunrise. Yes, absolutely yes. Vivian's relief was visible. Yeah? Yeah. Though we should probably ask Lily's permission. Way ahead of you, Vivian raised her voice. Lily, can you come here a second? Lily bounded over, sandy and happy. What? I just asked your dad to marry me, but I wanted to make sure you were okay with that. Lily's eyes went huge. Really? You want to marry us? Both of you, package deal. Lily looked at Ryan, then at Vivian, then threw her arms around them both. Yes! Can I be in the wedding? Can I wear a fancy dress? Can we get a puppy now? Ryan laughed through sudden tears. Wedding, yes. Fancy dress, yes. Puppy, we'll discuss. They stayed at the beach until sunset, planning a future none of them had expected, but all of them wanted. Later, after Lily fell asleep in the car on the way home, Vivian took Ryan's hand. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For showing up late to work with coffee stains on your shirt. For being completely yourself without apology. For making me want to be better than I was. Vivian squeezed his hand. For giving me a second chance at becoming who I was always supposed to be. Right back at you. You came to my door in the rain ready to fire me, and instead you changed my entire life. Best decision I never made. They drove home through the spring evening, and Ryan thought about that rainy Friday night months ago when Vivian had stood outside his door with mascara running and rage shaking her voice. When she'd said, "You're fired," and he'd thought his life was ending. Turned out it was just beginning. Because sometimes you don't get fired from a job. You get fired from your old life to make room for the right one. You get fired from loneliness and fear and all the walls you built to protect yourself. You get fired from believing you have to do everything alone. And if you're lucky, really lucky, you find someone brave enough to get fired right alongside you. Someone willing to walk away from everything they built to become someone better. Someone who shows up with Chinese food and pterodactyl facts and flowers for school plays. Someone who loves your daughter like she's their own and holds you like you're worth keeping and builds a life with you that's messy and chaotic and absolutely perfect. Ryan Parker had been fired from his old life the moment Vivian Cross knocked on his door. Best thing that ever happened to him. 3 months later, they got married in a small ceremony at the Science Center under the T-Rex skeleton, with Lily as the flower girl in a dress covered in dinosaurs because some traditions deserve to be broken. Vivian cried during the vows. Ryan forgot half his speech because he was too busy looking at his family, and Lily declared it the best wedding ever because they served dinosaur-shaped cookies at the reception. And 6 months after that, they finally got the puppy. His name was Rex. He was a golden retriever with no sense of personal space, and Lily loved him almost as much as she loved having a family that was finally completely whole. Ryan never showed up late to work again, but not because Vivian fired him or he learned better time management. He didn't need to rush anymore because he'd built a life that had room for both ambition and family, both career and love, both the man he was and the father he needed to be. And Vivian never went back to being the ice-cold CEO who valued perfection over people. She became board chair, strategic advisor, and most importantly, someone who understood that the best kind of success was measured in school plays attended, dinosaur facts learned, and evenings spent on the couch with people who loved you exactly as you were. Sometimes the person who threatens to fire you ends up being the one who saves you instead. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to let them, they become your home.